Welcome to the cultivation universe where everything abnormal is normal. And today's main character, Bai Xiaochun, is living proof. A young man who fears death more than the sky falling. A genius whose main talent is causing trouble. And also the only person who can make the entire sect want to beat him, protect him, and avoid him as much as possible. A will eternal, a cultivation story full of laughter. But beneath it is the emotional journey of a seemingly useless person who carries within him a will that can shake heaven and earth. If you want a story that's addictive from the first listen, humorous, touching, and extremely captivating, then this is the perfect choice. Now let's embark on a journey where just one thought is enough to shake eternity. At that moment, in their eyes, separated by heaven and earth, in an instant, Bai Xiaochun's body suddenly stood up. After he stood up, an even more powerful aura surged from him, overwhelming everything. This powerful aura erupted and directly spread to the heavens, causing the hand of Nifan descending from the sky to instantly collide with the light screen. Before the force could fully erupt, an even stronger aura burst forth from Bai Xiaochun's body, rushing forward amidst deafening roars, directly colliding with Nifan's descending hand, finally causing it to recoil. The Tao of Light. Nifan suddenly spoke, his voice low and deep. At this moment, his eyes seemed to transform into black vortices, like black holes. A cold, icy smile flickered at the corner of his mouth. His right hand recoiled, emitting a dark, eerie light in that instant, as if transforming into the night sky. Then, with a slight movement, finally descended. This time, the momentum was even more terrifying than before. Even the void shattered, the starry sky crumbled. The beings of the eternal immortal realm spat out fresh blood. Mountains everywhere were hurled into the air, directly shattering and perishing. All the terrifying waves of energy seemed to want to destroy everything, and it appeared they were about to spread throughout the eternal immortal realm. At this moment, Bai Xiaochun's body rose, suddenly shaking slightly, and finally he soared straight into the sky. His speed was extremely fast, invisible to the naked eye. All that could be seen was that as Bai Xiaochun rushed out, the enormous hand descending from the sky, forming waves of oppressive energy, was ultimately suppressed, unable to spread further, and even seemed to be shrinking, as if being restrained. Bai Xiaochun's body, at this moment, appeared high in the sky, beneath the descending hand of Nifan. His body was no less imposing than that gigantic hand. Yet, the aura emanating from him at this moment was earth-shattering, vaguely giving everyone the feeling that his seemingly small and weak figure possessed enough strength to resist the enormous hand in the sky. This feeling was not an illusion. The instant Bai Xiaochun's figure appeared, his right hand rose and suddenly clenched into a fist. His aura was heavy. At this moment, his mind was devoid of any other thoughts. Even regarding his own achievement of becoming a lord, he felt little joy. He only knew one thing. No matter what, I must defeat you, Bai Xiaochun roared, raising his right hand and clenching it into a fist. Immediately, the lord's aura surged from his body, overwhelming everything. Behind him, a colossal illusion appeared. It was a blurry image of Bai Xiaochun, the immortal lord's fist. Previously, every time Bai Xiaochun unleashed this immortal lord's fist, it was all talk and no action. But in this instant, he himself was the Lord. He didn't know how many times his power had increased with this punch. He only knew that this punch from Nifan wouldn't fall. This kind of belief was like the fundamental strength of a Lord. At this moment, with the collision, from afar, the colossal illusion behind Bai Xiaochun stood tall, wielding a punch so large it was indistinguishable from Nifan's own hand. Just one above, one in the middle. In the blink of an eye, they directly collided. To be precise, this was the first time Bai Xiaochun and Nifan had truly fought each other. Thunder echoed across the sky. Amidst the cracking sounds, the starry sky finally couldn't withstand it and shattered. There were also storms raging outside the eternal immortal realm, constantly erupting and spreading, causing the void to twist and explosions in all directions. The eternal immortal realm also trembled. But under Bai Xiaochun's protection, he himself absorbed almost all the violent force from Nifan's hand. Even with Bai Xiaochun's recovery from the immortal scroll, even as a lord at this moment, he still spat out a large amount of fresh blood. However, under Bai Xiaochun's protection, Although the eternal immortal realm also trembled, mountains crumbled, and the earth cracked, it ultimately remained intact. Even borrowing the impact force between Bai Xiaochun and Fan, the shattered void shifted its trajectory, drifting backward. This scene was intentionally created by Bai Xiaochun. At this moment, Fan's hand, amidst the loud explosion, was shaken and raised. His eyes flickered, and he casually floated towards the distant eternal immortal realm. At this moment, all his divine consciousness was focused on Bai Xiaochun, who stood in the starry sky. Bai Xiaochun stared at Fan. For him, Fan's towering figure was not a source of pressure. In fact, after becoming a lord, he could sense that if he wished, after retracting all his Dao bodies, he could also form a body similar to Fan's. But in Bai Xiaochun's heart, compared to Fan, he was actually no match. While Fan seemed to control 5/10 of the ruined areas in the starry sky, Fan also controlled 5/10. But Fan had existed for far too long. Bai Xiaochun understood very clearly that there was only one way to defeat Fan. I need to occupy more areas of the starry sky, illuminate more ruins, and condense more Dao bodies. Bai Xiaochun knew this was the only way. What made him feel compelled to do so was that in the instant he achieved this lordship, he vaguely sensed an indescribable mystery within this starry sky. This mystery seemed to be the foundation of everything, yet time and again he could vaguely sense it, but could not touch it. This kind of mystery, seemingly growing stronger as his spiritual body strengthens and the ruins are illuminated, is slowly becoming clearer. After the Lord comes eternity within this starry sky. There seems to be no place without the presence of mystery. Could this be the path to eternity? Bai Xiaochun knew that devouring the eternal immortal realm could also lead to eternity. However, he would absolutely not choose this path. It's been a long time since I've met anyone who could withstand a single blow from me, Fan said indifferently. He didn't care about the eternal immortal realm gently floating away. For him, the eternal immortal realm was simply inescapable. He had to possess it. In contrast, Bai Xiaochun, standing before him, wasn't as calm as he appeared. In fact, Bai Xiaochun's method of achieving lordship was stealing Fan's will formed after dispelling the darkness. For Fan, this was an immense threat. My worship still lacks a flag bearer. After your demise, I may allow your soul to decide on the flag, Fan said. At the same time, his enormous right hand suddenly rose, not forming a hand seal, but simply pointing casually at Bai Xiaochun. Burial realm, in an instant, Fan's voice echoed through the starry sky, the meaning of time spreading even more clearly. In the starry sky, before him and Bai Xiaochun, everything twisted, and 9 enormous stone statues with a thunderous roar materialized from the air and descended directly. Each of these 9 stone statues was tens of thousands of feet tall. Upon their appearance, each statue radiated an indescribable aura of annihilation and death. Even when Bai Xiaochun looked again, what he saw in his eyes was not 9 stone statues, but 9 extremely colossal star realms, as large as the eternal realm. It was as if they were 9 great realms, 9 enormous star realms outside the eternal realm that once existed. The eternal realm, perhaps it must have become the eternal abyss, with this place as its center. 9 fragments of star realms surround it, 9 great realms. After I eliminated the 9 great realms, I finally came to annihilate this place. Fan spoke calmly, his voice not loud, but the moment it was uttered, the starry sky trembled. Almost instantly after his words left his mouth, these 9 stone statues suddenly emitted black light, naturally forming 9 enormous vortices that roared straight towards Bai Xiaochun. Inside these 9 vortices, countless demonic figures were howling and screaming wildly, seemingly trying to crawl out from within, yet also seemingly ignoring each other and devouring Bai Xiaochun. Amidst the deafening explosions, each of the 9 vortices emitted an oppressive aura, like that of a supreme lord, even surpassing ordinary lords, almost the strongest, simultaneously erupting. Bai Xiaochun's expression changed. Outside the eternal great realm, there are 9 more great realms. Bai Xiaochun had never discovered this before. It wasn't even in Dao Chen's memories. And clearly, these 9 stone statues, transformed into vortices, were indeed emitting astonishing fluctuations. Evidently, they contained the power of 9 star systems, similar to the eternal great realm, formed after its destruction. Such divine power, Bai Xiaochun had never heard of. In truth, he had just become a lord, and although he had fought against other lords before, he had only encountered weakened soul images. He didn't fully understand the true divine abilities of a lord. Even in Dao Chen's memories, he didn't have such clear knowledge. At this moment, as Fen attacked, Bai Xiaochun's breath momentarily stopped. But he couldn't retreat. Behind him was the eternal immortal realm, gradually flying away. If he dodged, these 9 vortices would definitely pierce through and rush straight towards the eternal immortal realm. Only a fight. Blood vessels instantly filled Bai Xiaochun's eyes. The Bai Xiaochun of the past feared death because he wanted immortality. The Bai Xiaochun of the past didn't understand why cultivation involved fighting and killing. But all of that was in the past. Bai Xiaochun, although still possessing a pure heart, had grown stronger, reaching the level of a lord. He understood clearly that to achieve immortality, one must not fear death. He also understood that to avoid fighting and killing, one must be invincible throughout the world. All of this made Bai Xiaochun's eyes, now deep red, even more radiant. In the blink of an eye, as the 9 massive vortices roared towards him, Bai Xiaochun raised both hands and suddenly swung them. Instantly, his lord-level aura surged forth, overwhelming everything. Under this outburst, fueled by his lord-level will, a strange light flickered in Bai Xiaochun's eyes. Then he formed a hand seal. As the 9 vortices roared towards him, a low voice escaped Bai Xiaochun's lips, the past. In an instant, the past reincarnation scripture in Bai Xiaochun's hand manifested. As a finger moved within the 9 swirling vortices, the destructive power formed after the destruction of the starry sky suddenly vibrated the moment Bai Xiaochun's fingertip descended. Finally, countless runes, in a flash, surged out from these 9 vortices. These 9 massive vortices were truly the 9 great starry realms annihilated by Fan. It was precisely because of this that Bai Xiaochun's manifestation of the past reincarnation scripture could produce such unexpected effects. After all, not only living beings have memories, but the starry sky also possesses memories. And these memories, even if the starry sky is destroyed and turned into stone, still remain. At this moment, within these scattered runes, countless illusory life forms materialized, male and female, young and old, strange beasts, and various other bizarre and grotesque creatures. They were all screaming and roaring, radiating terrifying resentment. After transforming into runes and rushing out, instead of flying towards Bai Xiaochun, they swirled back, hurtling straight towards the vortex itself. Such a scene caused even the Lord of the Reverse Mortal Realm to blink. But all of this was not over. At this moment, Bai Xiaochun felt the Lord's will within his body constantly diminishing. Yet, he still performed the hand seal just one more time. Now, the present life and death scripture. This divine ability, even before Bai Xiaochun ascended to the Lord level, possessed extraordinary power. Now, after he entered the Lord realm, when he unleashed it, the starry sky immediately exploded. Behind Bai Xiaochun, a massive, ancient, and desolate gate suddenly appeared. It wasn't the gate of death, but the gate of life. At the same time, after these 9 vortices, 9 massive gates descended one after another. These were the gates of death, reversing life and death, forming the present life and death scripture. It was no longer a journey from life to death, but from death to life, from darkness to light. In the instant of its manifestation, the 9 massive vortices themselves, under the backlash of the memory runes, seemed to be fundamentally affected, instantly shaking. The boundless aura of death within, as it naturally approached Bai Xiaochun, continuously dissipated. Even more astonishing was that within these 9 vortices, as the aura of death dissipated and annihilation faded, life seemed to emerge, as if it wanted to be reborn. It seemed as if it wanted to return to the past, to become the original 9 great realms. Such a scene not only caused Lord Fan's eyes to flicker, but also his eyes to suddenly narrow. He snorted coldly, raised his right hand, and made a hand gesture. He indifferently uttered a single word, break. The moment this word was spoken, the 9 great vortices suddenly became unstable, as if about to shatter. Clearly, Fan also sensed the danger and did not want to linger any longer, intending to kill Bai Xiaochun in one fell swoop. But just as the 9 vortices were about to shatter, in an instant, Bai Xiaochun's eyes turned crimson, as if about to emit a red light, and he let out a loud roar. The future. A deafening roar echoed. In an instant, a guiding spiritual energy, like an aura connected to cause and effect, directly erupted, sealing off the Lord of the rebellious mortal realm. Almost immediately after the sealing was established, the 9 massive vortices shattered with a thunderous roar. The destructive force within, capable of moving mountains and filling seas, like a colossal tidal wave, surged towards Bai Xiaochun. It seemed unstoppable. It was the destructive force of 9 star systems, a force capable of slaying a lord. Fortunately, Bai Xiaochun's past scripture had previously consumed a considerable amount of this destructive force from the 9 star systems. Furthermore, the life and death gate had caused significant depletion of the destructive force as it approached. Finally, the explosion erupted, powerful enough to destroy heaven and earth. But for Bai Xiaochun, as long as he didn't die instantly, he could recover. At this moment, amidst the deafening roar, the past scripture's runes shattered and perished first. Then, the gate of life and death crumbled. Finally, Bai Xiaochun spat out fresh blood, his body reeling backward. As for the injuries he sustained, they were instantly transferred to the body of the Lord of the Reverse Realm through the future scripture. The Lord of the Reverse Realm roared softly. His massive body didn't seem to mind the damage from this counterattack. He suddenly shook his head, raising his left hand, and from behind the swirling storm, grabbed towards Bai Xiaochun. Wherever it passed, the void shattered and perished, and cracks appeared in the starry sky. Facing imminent danger, Bai Xiaochun retreated. Meanwhile, his hands rapidly formed hand seals. The primordial time suddenly diffused, instantly forming a killing vortex all around him. This was the first time Bai Xiaochun had deployed the killing vortex after achieving the Lord Realm. As his Tao condensed in these 5 fragments of the ruined starry sky, and his cultivation increased, entering the Lord Realm, Bai Xiaochun naturally broke through in his mastery of the primordial time. At this moment, as the killing vortex formed, his eyes flashed, and he raised his right hand, reaching towards another direction in the chaotic starry sky, suddenly grabbing Time Sand Flow. Almost instantly after Bai Xiaochun spoke, the Time Sand Flow area he had discovered years ago in the starry sky trembled violently. Within this area, there was also a clone of Bai Xiaochun. Clearly, using this treasure was one of Bai Xiaochun's preparations from long ago. At this moment, following his summoning, as Bai Xiaochun's essence of time condensed within, the area instantly shook violently. The countless grains of sand that had been flowing within suddenly vanished one by one. In an instant, even the entire area disappeared without a trace. When it reappeared, it was suddenly in the place where the eternal immortal realm starry sky used to be. An extremely massive, colossal stream of sand flowed down. Although Bai Xiaochun possessed the essence of time, he still couldn't completely control this stream of sand. After all, he wasn't its master. If Bai Xiaochun had some time to calm down, he might be able to refine it. But now he didn't have time for that. Moreover, what Bai Xiaochun wanted wasn't complete control over it. What he had to do was suppress it. Use the magic treasure of his master, Anai Fan, to suppress Anai Fan. Almost instantly, as this flowing sand appeared, Anai Fan's expression finally changed slightly. He recognized this flowing sand. It was the treasure his master had left behind years ago. When his master fell, this treasure also disappeared. Anai Fan had even searched for it before, but couldn't find it. This had led him to make some assumptions in the past. Now, seeing this flowing sand suddenly summoned by Bai Xiaochun, his heart was greatly shaken. Watching the sand rush down, and as it continued to fall, countless streams of sand appeared all around Anai Fan, flowing through him, creating a chaotic flow of time and forming a seal. This was Bai Xiaochun trying to seal Anai Fan. Anai Fan closed his eyes. When he opened them, his hands suddenly rose. Inside his massive body, an endless stream of black mist suddenly erupted. This black mist seemed capable of devouring everything, spreading in all directions, simultaneously radiating death and annihilation, and unexpectedly encroaching upon the surrounding flowing sands. However, this flowing sand was, after all, a treasure left behind by his master back then, and it itself possessed something extraordinary. Although Anai Fan was powerful, he seemed somewhat lacking in terms of the fundamental principles of time. At this moment, as he dispersed the mist, he ultimately found it difficult to break free from the suppression of this flowing sand. The power of the flowing sand also seemed to have reached its limit, unable to completely suppress it, only maintaining a state of stalemate. But clearly, it couldn't last much longer. This scene was within Bai Xiaojun's expectations. He didn't even look at Fan. Taking advantage of the moment when the other party was locked in a struggle with the flowing sand, Bai Xiaojun immediately closed his eyes again, his divine consciousness surging out, relying on his supreme divine consciousness to penetrate the 5 areas of runes in the starry sky into all of his Tao bodies. Almost instantly, as Bai Xiaojun's divine consciousness merged with all the Tao bodies in this 5-part area, the more than 100,000 Tao bodies in the ruins all opened their eyes. Each one of them was Bai Xiaojun, all under his control. They didn't even feel like their original bodies were separate, yet they were all like him. Under this control, these more than 100,000 Tao bodies simultaneously flew out, carrying their own light, displaying astonishing speed. They converged from all directions, rushing straight towards the other half of the starry sky, unlit, now a dark void. This was Bai Xiaojun's plan. He knew he was no match for Fan, so he needed to seal Fan. Even a short sealing would be better, as it would buy him time and opportunity. 6 parts, as long as I can see 6 parts of the starry sky. I'll have the strength to truly fight Fan, Bai Xiaojun roared softly. At the same time, over 100,000 of Bai Xiaojun's clones roared in unison, almost simultaneously, as Bai Xiaojun controlled his clones, shifting the battlefield to the starry sky. Fan, even though suppressed, instantly noticed. He glanced deeply at Bai Xiaojun, then suddenly smiled. First, the time origin divine ability, and then my master's supreme treasure. Then, shifting the battlefield. Such an opponent, very good. After Fan finished speaking, his aura seemed to diminish, yet a glint of light flashed in his eyes. In that instant, countless black energies emanated from his body. These dark energies were numerous, numbering over 100,000 streams. After appearing, they immediately retreated into the starry sky, disappearing. His body, under the constant diffusion of these dark energies, gradually shrank, eventually transforming from a towering figure back to the size of an ordinary person. At the same time, within this starry sky, in the 5 regions occupied by darkness, amidst over 100,000 dark ruins, as streams of dark energy emanated from Fan's body, they instantly absorbed all the death and annihilation from all sides like seeds. In a flash, they finally formed a venerable Dao body belonging to Fan. These Dao bodies resembled Fan in appearance. At this moment, after appearing one after another, over 100,000 Dao bodies simultaneously opened their eyes, radiating an icy aura. Simultaneously, they all flew out at incredible speed, converging in one place in the blink of an eye, and directly charging towards Bai Xiaojun's Dao body. All of this, from the moment Bai Xiaojun's plan unfolded to Fan's reaction, happened in an instant. The battle of Dao bodies was like countless spaces. Almost at the moment Bai Xiaojun's more than 100,000 Dao bodies entered the dark starry sky, Fan's Dao body descended. Immediately, the Dao bodies of both sides engaged in a battle within this starry sky. A battle of the starry sky. The number of Dao bodies on both sides was not significantly different. At this moment, as the two sides clashed, these more than 100,000 Dao bodies exploded, instantly causing the vast eternal starry sky to tremble and shatter. Thunder rumbled incessantly. From afar, the scene was terrifying, enough to fill all who witnessed it with utter fear. In truth, all of this was extremely bizarre. Among these hundreds of thousands of clones, there were only 2 forms. This battle between the supreme rulers was unprecedented. It seemed their war, regardless of its methods or tactics, was beyond the imagination of other cultivators. Just like now, the battle in the starry sky erupted, and simultaneously, the location of the former eternal immortal realm, as Fan's body shrunk, finally directly shattered the suppression of the flowing sand. His body moved incredibly fast, disappearing in an instant. When he reappeared in front of Bai Xiaojun, he raised his right hand and punched out. Bai Xiaojun's expression changed instantly, and he immediately blocked. With a loud bang, as he spat out blood and recoiled, Fan shook his head, his expression icy cold, and approached again, delivering another punch. A deafening roar erupted. In that brief moment, Bai Xiaojun was directly attacked by Fan with over 100 punches. Blood gushed out wildly, his eyes filled with blood. As Fan charged again, Bai Xiaojun let out a low growl, and finally, he directly took out countless elixirs from his storage bag. Bai Xiaochun was also forced into a corner. He realized that in terms of physical strength, he was no match for Ni Fan. Before, Ni Fan's body was full of aura, and Bai Xiaochun felt it deeply, but now that the opponent had shrunk to the size of an ordinary person, he felt it even more intensely. Continuing like this, Bai Xiaochun felt that even with the recovery power of the Immortal Scroll, he would hardly be able to withstand it, because he knew very well that Ni Fan's recovery ability was also quite formidable. There's no other way. I can only use elixirs. Bai Xiaochun felt immense pressure. He didn't know the specific effects of many of the elixirs he had thrown out. Some of them were strange elixirs he had concocted years ago, and he himself wouldn't dare consume them. There were also the aphrodisiac elixir, the soul-gathering elixir, the illusionary wisdom elixir, and so on. In this moment of life or death danger, Bai Xiaochun couldn't care less about anything else. He took out all the elixirs he had accumulated over the years from his storage bag and threw them all out. Explode, 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 Bai Xiaochun shouted as he threw them. Instantly, these elixirs exploded, forming multicolored mists that directly spread towards Lord Ni Fan. Even someone as powerful as Lord Ni Fan was only slightly affected by the mist, his expression changing drastically as he suddenly retreated. What are these things? Ni Fan immediately spread his aura, trying his best to block them. At the same time, after he managed to dispel a wisp of the infecting mist from his body, he inexplicably felt a burning sensation. This intense heat made him frown. When he looked at Bai Xiaochun, he also showed a strange expression. Previously, he had seen Bai Xiaochun as incredibly powerful, a formidable opponent who, even before his own ceiling, could be considered top tier. Such an opponent had significantly boosted his fighting spirit. But today, he felt his judgment might have been somewhat flawed. Seeing Ni Fan retreat, Bai Xiaochun breathed a sigh of relief. He quickly retreated, not daring to touch the mist formed by his elixirs. While retreating, Bai Xiaochun realized that the only way to defeat Ni Fan was to seal him and buy time. He also understood that he only had so many elixirs left. If he didn't seize the opportunity and waited for the opponent to attack again, he would still be at a disadvantage. Longevity lamp, facing imminent danger, Bai Xiaochun suddenly shouted, his hands forming a hand seal. Immediately, countless longevity lamps appeared in the starry sky, and more appeared around Ni Fan. Destroy! In the blink of an eye, the longevity lamps appeared, and Bai Xiaochun wasted no time. He roared even louder. Instantly, all the longevity lamps went out. But when they were extinguished, each momentary wave of vibration erupted, forming a force capable of moving mountains and filling seas. This force wasn't directed at Ni Fan, but rather formed a massive vortex outside his body. As this vortex rumbled and spun, the primordial time once again descended. Suddenly, Bai Xiaochun wanted to trap Ni Fan once more. At the same time, Bai Xiaochun extended both hands, waving them towards the starry sky. Starry sky as a furnace, Bai Xiaochun unleashed his supreme will, causing the surrounding starry sky to twist and warp in an instant, transforming into a gigantic alchemy furnace. Ni Fan, inside the vortex, was in this furnace. This was the method Bai Xiaochun had devised, defying the seal of Ni Fan. He wanted to refine Ni Fan like an alchemy furnace. But just as this starry sky furnace appeared, Ni Fan frowned, and with a cold snort, took a step towards the swirling vortex of the eternal life lamp surrounding him. With a loud bang, it seemed he was about to emerge. But at this moment, Bai Xiaochun suddenly roared even louder. Eternal Mother! Almost instantly, he opened his mouth. Deep within the eternal immortal realm, at the end of the eternal river, the dazzling light within the large bell, which had been shining brightly, now dimmed considerably. However, in that instant, sensing Bai Xiaochun's summons, it suddenly erupted with blinding light. This light pierced through the eternal immortal realm, through the void, and upon appearing, directly outside the body of the Lord of the rebellious mortal realm, suddenly merging into the surrounding vortex. Immediately, this vortex emitted a dazzling light, hindering the Lord of the rebellious mortal realm's attack considerably. Eternal Mother, if I didn't want to train you, I would have killed you long ago. You still dared to come and court death. The Lord of the rebellious mortal realm snorted coldly, raising his right hand and suddenly punching out. The vortex trembled. as if even the will of the Eternal Mother was about to shatter. The imminent danger in the eternal immortal realm. In this instant, all living beings, including the Holy Emperor, Sankyu, everyone. At this moment, the voice of the Eternal Mother echoed in their minds. My children, I need your strength. This voice, filled with boundless warmth, resonated among all beings. In that instant, all life in the eternal immortal realm, even those ferocious beasts, trembled, holding nothing back, sacrificing their lives, souls, and everything else, all following this echoing voice, guided by it, into nothingness. From afar, one could see that at this moment, countless points of light finally flew out from the eternal immortal realm. These points of light gently floated, hurtling towards the vortex surrounding DEFIED. In an instant, countless points of light merged into it, causing the swirling vortex around DEFIED to become even more intensely illuminated, dispelling the darkness in all directions. Only 10 breaths. The weakened voice of the Eternal Mother reached Bai Xiaochun's ears. Upon hearing this, Bai Xiaochun simultaneously formed hand seals and waved his hands in all directions. Immediately, the surrounding space quickly caved in. The alchemy furnace that had formed around DEFIED became even more distinct. Time is fire. Bai Xiaochun waved his sleeves. It seemed as if endless time flowed through the space around the alchemy furnace at this moment. Bin Trong Lo Lion Yan Tin Kang, LSE Na SEC MT Gechfam Cha Tikui Kang Ji Bin Hoa. Te Fihan Bien Quite, Jet NMDN MT Kai Via Fia Bin DGI. Anthi, T Trong Si the Henko Vien Aspikian LPPTICGGC the Ryan Goi. Cheng Lian Miam 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 Kuch Ten Via Bin Fia Zung Quan. Trong Chimp MT Nung Ki Mao Yan Ne Labo Tram TTC Ku Viek Lo Lion Yan Tin Kang Ne. DJang Na Cheng Vien Han Kanging Tong Lan, Muan Favi Na. HIO Ne Bin HUGVVI Hin Ma Noi. Kodo Arch T Thun Ni Favi Lo Lion Yan Tin Kang. Vian Luk Leung Cam Divan Hing Kang Chung Sin Tuan Viek Vin Hing, Hn Chip Ji Lane Hit Thi, Kang Cho Guch Fim LSE Ne Le Kang Ko Cash Now Favi Na. Hung LSE Ne, MT Theme Ji Lane Hit Thi Le SPPQuay, and then CAB Siege Tithun Le Tryon Cap Tam Fang. Immortal Elixir, refining the Lord. Amidst the deafening explosion, Bai Xiaochun, with his incantations, unleashed the entire alchemy process. In the blink of an eye, within 10 breaths, all the beings of the eternal immortal realm spat out fresh blood. The halo of the Eternal Mother also dimmed, seemingly on the verge of extinguishing at any moment. Despite this, to buy time for Bai Xiaochun, their power almost dissipated. In an instant, the celestial alchemy furnace created by the eternal elixir lamp's vortex shattered, instantly transforming into herbs. Inside the furnace, they erupted, combining with the sealed furnace and the passage of time outside, like a raging fire, forming an inseparable, tightly integrated entity. The alchemy was complete. This was no ordinary alchemy. This was Bai Xiaochun relying on his lord-level cultivation to form a great divine ability in the field of alchemy. The moment it took shape, even DEFIED felt a danger he hadn't experienced in many years. If it were another opponent, they would likely be sealed away for a period of time. But DEFIED understood Bai Xiaochun's purpose perfectly. Inside the starry sky alchemy furnace, his eyes flashed, and he suddenly took a deep breath. As he inhaled deeply in the starry sky, on the battlefield where the two Tao bodies were clashing, tens of thousands of his Tao bodies instantly vanished, turning into black gas and disappearing without a trace. When they reappeared, they finally returned to the body of the Lord of the Rebellious Realm. Even with the starry sky alchemy furnace blocking them, it was impossible to prevent the Lord of the Rebellious Realm's clones from returning. Bai Xiaochun's expression changed instantly. At this moment, it was too late for him to stop them. In his eyes, he saw the starry sky alchemy furnace suddenly erupt with an earth-shattering explosion. It seemed as if a destructive force emanating from within the furnace exploded, overwhelming everything. After the explosion, tens of thousands of Lord of the Rebellious Realm's clones were withdrawn, forming a shattering force. In that instant, a deafening thunderclap resounded. At the same time, the starry sky alchemy furnace, which had been blocking him, could not withstand it and directly exploded. The starry sky shattered. At the same time, the flames of time outside him could no longer withstand it and directly extinguished, dissipating. Following the shaking of the starry sky, after the starry sky alchemy furnace shattered, a black mist containing endless death and annihilation instantly spread out from the shattered furnace. Within the black mist, the figure of Fan emerged step by step. At this moment, Fan's eyes were filled with intense killing intent. "I underestimated you," Fan's voice, cold and chilling, echoed through the starry sky. Before he could finish speaking, Bai Xiaojun, though pale, had a strange light in his eyes. He knew that prolonging the time to seal Fan was now impossible. Without the slightest hesitation, Bai Xiaojun's divine consciousness seized the opportunity when the number of Dao bodies of Lord Fan had decreased by tens of thousands, and immediately controlled these more than 100,000 Dao bodies. In an instant, they all shattered. Elsewhere in the starry sky, on this battlefield, thunderous sounds reverberated, spreading in all directions. Bai Xiaojun's more than 100,000 Dao bodies all disintegrated. As they shattered, countless dandelion-like creatures materialized, using the force of the shattering to surge and spread throughout the entire starry sky. If it were before, Lord Fan wouldn't have lacked these tens of thousands of Dao bodies and could certainly have stopped them. But today, the shortage of Dao bodies was like a hole appearing in the formation. Bai Xiaojun's reaction was so quick that Lord Fan was ultimately unable to stop him. Suddenly, Bai Xiaojun's Dao body transformed into a dandelion, resembling a sea of white, directly piercing through the void. The moment it appeared, it instantly appeared above the 108,000 ruins throughout the entire starry sky. After appearing, as if seizing the opportunity, all these dandelions immediately reformed their Dao bodies, striving to illuminate the darkness and dispel the shadows. Bai Xiaojun believed that the Lord of the rebellious realm would definitely come to stop him, not to suppress him with all his might, or to devour the eternal immortal realm to restrain him. Bai Xiaojun understood clearly that even if he was inferior to the Lord of the rebellious realm, even with his full power, the Lord wouldn't be able to kill him in a short time. At this moment, if the Lord of the rebellious realm didn't stop his Dao body from spreading, the outcome was predictable. Secondly, if Lord Fan were to devour the eternal flower, he would have no way to avoid being entangled with Bai Xiaojun. How could Bai Xiaojun possibly allow the other party to do such a thing? All of this was understood not only by Bai Xiaojun, but also by Fan. He knew that Bai Xiaojun was like a stubborn dog, unless he was killed. Other methods wouldn't be very effective. However, although Fan was a step behind, his strength was formidable. Even though Bai Xiaojun had continuously weakened him, he remained in his original position. With a change in expression, his more than 100,000 clones suddenly self-destructed. Under this explosion, they transformed into 1,080,000 black mists, which instantly appeared on all the ruins in the starry sky. After recondensing, they formed 1,080,000 clones. They, along with Bai Xiaojun's clones, immediately engaged in a life-or-death battle in each of these ruined worlds. This was suddenly the largest starry sky battle ever, unfolding into a series of interconnected fights. 108,000 piles of rubble, 108,000 battlefields in a short period of time. Earth-shattering thunder echoed throughout the entire starry sky. To be able to force me to this point, I have no choice but to fight you using your own methods. You are the first person to do so. Fan glared menacingly at Bai Xiaojun. Since their battle, although he hadn't suffered many injuries, and Bai Xiaojun's injuries were even more severe, both possessed considerable regenerative power. In terms of injuries, it was difficult to distinguish between them. But ultimately, with Bai Xiaojun here, in terms of destructive power, he couldn't shake Fan. Every time Fan attacked, Bai Xiaojun would have to resist with all his might, and he himself would suffer severe injuries. But ultimately, it should all end. Fan narrowed his eyes, his body flashed, and he lunged straight at Bai Xiaojun. His right hand was raised. His thumb instantly darkened, as if all the energy in his body had condensed on it. Around this thumb, a black hole seemed to form, radiating an aura of annihilation, as if resonating with the entire starry sky. "Destruction finger?" Fan said indifferently. In the blink of an eye, he unleashed the destruction finger. 108,000 of his clones, amidst the various ruins, simultaneously raised their right hands, their thumbs darkening, unleashing the destruction finger. All the clones unleashed the annihilation finger, its power immense, beyond imagination. Bai Xiaojun's expression changed drastically, and he quickly retreated. At the same time, the 108,000 clones within the ruins also retreated. However, the annihilation finger seemed to have completely sealed off everything. No matter how much Bai Xiaochun retreated, he still couldn't avoid it. As Anifan's fingertip descended, the starry sky exploded, and 108,000 annihilation fingers erupted simultaneously. Facing imminent danger, Bai Xiaochun's breath stopped. With a low roar, the immortal scroll frantically activated. The mountain-shattering strike and the immortal seal were immediately deployed, finally forming the throat-shattering lock, which suddenly struck towards the annihilation finger. Within the 108,000 ruins, all of Bai Xiaochun's Dao bodies were simultaneously unleashing the throat-shattering lock. Amidst the deafening explosions, 108,000 collisions occurred, condensing into a single sound in an instant. This sound shook the starry sky. At this moment, the sound within the starry sky was cut off, yet it spread in all directions. In a flash, Bai Xiaochun and all his Dao bodies spat out fresh blood. Their bodies felt instantly exhausted, as if all their vitality was about to shatter. Bai Xiaochun felt even more clearly the astonishing power contained within this life annihilation finger. Even the immortal scroll was difficult to restore, and it could still shake the soul. At this moment, as he spat out blood and retreated, the life annihilation finger seemed to pierce through his bones, relentlessly pursuing him under the cold gaze of Fan. Continuing like this, death is inevitable. Bai Xiaochun's heart trembled. It can't be like this. The battle in the 108,000 ruins wasn't enough to disperse the enemy. To defeat this Fan, I definitely need more external forces. Bai Xiaochun's eyes turned red. In this imminent danger, he suddenly shouted frantically, "The Zhuan Ancient Scroll!" The Zhuan Ancient Scroll contains the past, present, and future. This is a divine ability and cultivation technique that Bai Xiaochun devised himself, containing the essence of time. Before Bai Xiaochun ascended to the Lord level, he was unable to fuse the past, present, and future together to unleash the ultimate power of the Zhuan Ancient Scroll. But now, after entering the Lord level, Bai Xiaochun, whether in controlling the essence or supporting his cultivation, has the qualifications to fully manifest the Zhuan Ancient Scroll. And the Zhuan Ancient Scroll's final manifestation is to Bazaar. Although Bai Xiaochun wasn't particularly clear about it, this was still a technique he had created, and he had some understanding of it. However, before this, due to insufficient cultivation, he couldn't do it. At the same time, he felt that his imagination regarding the Zhuan Ancient Scroll seemed a bit unrealistic. But today, after gaining control over the fundamental time, he naturally discovered that this so-called unreality wasn't quite right. Past. Bai Xiaochun roared softly, raising his right hand and suddenly placing it on his forehead. Instantly, his memories transformed into runes, scattering and forming a massive vortex around him. Present! A door of life and death suddenly descended. One door behind Fan, one behind himself. Future! Their destinies were intertwined, inseparable. Just like at this moment, Bai Xiaochun and Fan had reached a certain point where, regardless of Fan's wishes, they were forcibly connected. Even if Fan could sever the connection, Bai Xiaochun wouldn't give him time. In an instant, his hands suddenly rose, a finger placed on Fan's forehead, pointing at him. Fusion eternal. A thunderous roar instantly erupted, spreading in all directions. At the same time, the vortex surrounding Bai Xiaochun suddenly erupted. This vortex seemed to connect a mysterious area, forming in an instant. Within this diffusion, the space between Bai Xiaochun and Fan seemed to reverse, and a storm of time appeared all around them. Images even continuously appeared within this violent storm. A supremely powerful mystical force, as if emanating from the surrounding time and storms, finally caused the annihilation finger of Fan to disintegrate at a speed visible to the naked eye. Along with it, the annihilation finger unleashed by Fan's Dao body within the 180,000 realms also disintegrated. The long river of time and space. Impossible. No, this isn't the long river of time and space. This is outside the long river of time and space. In an instant, Fan's expression changed, and Bai Xiaochun also felt dizzy and disoriented. The vortexes surrounding the two disappeared. Everything around them returned to normal. But very quickly, both Bai Xiaochun and Fan were shaken. They saw. In the distance, where the eternal flower once existed, A vast and boundless army of demonic shadows suddenly appeared in the starry sky, roaring and charging towards them. Behind this vast army of phantoms, an incredibly gigantic figure was walking step by step towards the eternal flower. This giant was none other than DEFIED. It was a scene from an extremely distant past, DEFIED destroying everything and arriving before the eternal flower. Eternal existence, after merging the past, present, and future, forming divine abilities and techniques, is a recollection of history, a journey into the passage of time. But it's different from the legendary river of time and space. Once one enters the river of time and space, they can truly return to the past, even change past events. But everything related to the river of time and space is just a rumor. No one can achieve this. Even DEFIED couldn't enter the river of time and space. And Bai Xiaochun's Yuan ancient scroll certainly couldn't enter the legendary river of time and space. It's just like a mirror, from a certain level, approaching the river of time and space. Even if they make changes, a mirror is still just a mirror. When they leave, they will all return to their starting point. Although there's no way to change what's already happened if he's entered here. If he's wounded by a figure from the past, it will still affect him. Bai Xiaochun had no choice. He fought against DEFIED alone, and even with 180,000 luminous clones, he couldn't defeat him. Therefore, he chose to borrow external force, pulling DEFIED into his eternal existence. And in these past years, he sought a way to kill DEFIED. Is this the battlefield you chose? DEFIED suddenly laughed. He raised his right hand and suddenly grabbed. Instantly, DEFIED, in the distant space-time outside the eternal immortal realm, trembled violently, looked up in this direction, and showed a look of incomprehension. But Bai Xiaochun felt a tingling sensation on his scalp. He could see that within this space-time, DEFIED's body was emitting endless black energy, forming enormous, ferocious faces, which DEFIED, controlled by countless years later, were charging straight towards Bai Xiaochun. It must be a mistake. Bai Xiaochun almost burst into tears. Even though he had expended a considerable amount of cultivation in using the Yuan ancient scroll, he gritted his teeth and reversed the time again. With a resounding explosion, the swirling vortex around them reappeared, obscuring the starry sky. After blocking their vision and divine sense, it stopped, and they were now in an unknown number of years. The surrounding area was a vast emptiness. "Have you had enough?" DEFIED said indifferently, his body instantly lunging towards Bai Xiaochun. Bai Xiaochun was about to continue reversing time, but his cultivation stalled, forcing him to retreat quickly. With a loud bang, he and DEFIED clashed again in the starry sky. Soon, Bai Xiaochun spat out blood, seizing the opportunity to reverse time once more. Thus, he and DEFIED continued to traverse through time and space. Bai Xiaochun wanted to find an opportunity to kill DEFIED. But time and again, this time reversal could only be a random flashback. Bai Xiaochun had no way to control it specifically. Therefore, almost every time it appeared, he could only immediately flee, seizing the opportunity to use time reversal again. Although he didn't have the chance to gain external power, he still managed to avoid DEFIED's successive killer moves. In the end, the light of time reversal became a divine ability for Bai Xiaochun to stop DEFIED. DEFIED's expression also became more and more somber. Bai Xiaochun felt passive. He felt even more passive. Under this pursuit, whenever Bai Xiaochun sensed something was wrong, he would immediately use time reversal again. Although it didn't affect him in any way, he still couldn't kill Bai Xiaochun. This still felt somewhat absurd to him. Who is that person he can cultivate to such a level, which already shows he's extraordinary, and like me, he's also pursuing his own path. How is it? Fighting him always gives me an indescribable feeling. It's ridiculous. DEFIED frowned, staring at Bai Xiaochun. He felt that the person before him, in terms of evasion, was like a mouse whose tail had been stepped on, making him very helpless. Especially when Bai Xiaochun also realized that he could use this time reversal ability to render DEFIED powerless against him, he began to use his negotiation skills. DEFIED, let's negotiate. You can't kill me, and I can't kill you either. Otherwise, let's just forget about it. Tell me. It's not easy for you to awaken once. Why insist on devouring my homeland? How about this? Don't devour the eternal flower. We can be friends. We don't need to fight and kill. There's always another way to solve the problem. Come on, let's discuss how we can help you become eternal. Hey, you talk. Bai Xiaochun's words continued to reach him. Gradually, Nifan's face turned pale. In the end, even with his temper, he let out a roar. Silence! Bai Xiaochun was startled, quickly used time reversal, and once again disappeared with Nifan. When they reappeared, it was unknown which spacetime they were in. This killing spree continued because of this. Ma trong hien thuk, bin trong mt tam ls tam vien hung jinat, hio than ban h kung vien hang kam gigo. Jiat shung ko san kochet. Hai gi tri gugi kem gigo y trong thi jian, y trong enchiam thang sai quay, y trong ting siench tung lech sp, kang jian kang trong thi jian, hu hang ten han ji chen. Kang bit quay bao lao, hen kui kung, gutch fam kung muan fat gien. Beseech tiathan kung nt mui siam thi kang chuni, lay kang dutch fam thong liang ko the kang nude hoven hing hey kang. Sao ki kang third ggc kapin, beseech tiathan thi dai, trong long ni sin y hun ecgc. Lane ne han hungin sp donking ni tu vi hun, thien hoi tang pi jian kang lao hun emptiet. Trong ting ench ln, lane ne thi kang jo bioban fia zung quan beseech tu thun kung gech fam, so vi drachak kia kung fi dgi dao hun kang it. Sao ki jo bioban mtt, beseech tu thun lpptic thung nt kai kio dai kung cash kun gech fam. Nhang Dutch fam yk kui kung lay kang tri sat jin nutrachak kia, ma trong mtls ra viev kin angi sikik thong, biek teachit non viet tin kang fia shao. Bai Xiaochun also noticed it. Looking back, his eyes suddenly widened. He saw in the distance in the starry sky an extremely huge vortex, even larger than the original form of Nifan, rumbling and spinning. Inside, a strange aura emanated, seemingly not from the great eternal realm. Even more terrifying was that, almost in the blink of an eye, Bai Xiaochun saw an ancient warship struggling to break out from within this vortex. This warship was familiar to Bai Xiaochun. It was the same ship from the Immortal Realm ruins, the one that existed in the Black Mist Valley harboring endless death. This is Bai Xiaochun's mind trembled, almost crying out. He realized how incredibly unlucky he was. The fact that Nifan had appeared beside the Eternal Flower was one thing. At that moment, I suddenly recalled the time when the warship appeared inside the black, foggy mountain valley. Nifan is the inheritor of his Tao. Bai Xiaochun shuddered, wanting to recall the time he left that place once more. He worried that if he was a step too slow, and if Nifan were to gain some enlightenment from this place, it would be disastrous. But as Bai Xiaochun was about to recall, he suddenly stopped, his eyes flickering as he looked towards the enormous vortex. Perhaps this is the opportunity. Bai Xiaochun hesitated. He felt somewhat unwilling to leave like this. He knew that he had recalled this many times, and only this situation appeared the most bizarre and mysterious. Maybe I can find a flaw in Nifan's Tao here. Bai Xiaochun's eyes flickered, deciding to only observe for a while. If things didn't go well, he would immediately flee. Just as Bai Xiaochun was pondering and investigating, a loud explosion suddenly erupted from within the vortex. The ancient warship inside struggled, escaping more than halfway out of the vortex, revealing an old man sitting cross-legged on board, clad in a black robe. The old man's expression remained unchanged, but there was a gaping hole in his forehead, yet no blood flowed out. In fact, the hole was clearly closing. This scene greatly surprised Bai Xiaochun. He had seen the old man's remains in the Black Mist Valley, but the hole hadn't closed. At the same time, Nifan, standing nearby, trembled, a glint of light flashing in his eyes. Bai Xiaochun also found it hard to breathe. He felt that the appearance of this warship was too bizarre, especially within this vortex. As the warship struggled, more and more strange auras, not belonging to the great eternal realm, emanated. Bai Xiaochun vaguely felt that he couldn't look any longer. At this moment, he didn't hesitate at all, wanting to recall something. But at this moment, a heavy explosion suddenly came from within the vortex. It seemed that the distance to the exit of the vortex was getting closer and closer. The old man on the warship, with a look of madness in his eyes, raised his hands and swung them violently. Instantly, his warship seemed to be burning, giving rise to a powerful wave. Under this wave of energy, the warship was propelled forward, and with a loud explosion, it directly and completely broke out of the vortex and entered the great eternal realm. But just as the warship escaped and entered, in an instant, a roar suddenly came from within the vortex. In that instant, the vortex suddenly trembled. A gigantic finger suddenly shot out from within, directly plunging into the vast eternal realm, as if to hunt down the old man on the warship. No matter where you flee the vast star domain, once you've passed through, you will ultimately... A cold voice echoed from within the vortex. But before he could finish speaking, the moment the finger emerged from the vortex and entered the vast eternal realm, it suddenly shattered and disintegrated, seemingly dissolving into dust in an instant. This scene caused Bai Xiaochun's eyes to widen in shock. His heart raced. In that instant, he clearly felt a mysterious power, a power he had sensed after his ascension to the Lord level, suddenly erupt within this starry sky. It was this mysterious power, like a wipe, that caused the finger to be instantly annihilated. While Bai Xiaochun was still reeling from the shock, an unimaginable cry of astonishment, filled with fear and disbelief, suddenly erupted from within the vortex. He finally erased my finger. How could this be? This place is wrong. Not an immortal, not a god, not a demon, not a monster, not a ghost. This place is. As this voice, filled with shock, echoed, the warship stopped in the starry sky. The old man inside, with a hole in his forehead, slowly turned his head, gazing at the vortex, his eyes filled with even more madness, and he sneered. This is the only place sealed by immortals, gods, demons, monsters, and ghosts, the eternal spirit realm, the legendary homeland of Luotia. Either I am resurrected, reversing the heavens, and annihilating all the realms you don't know about, or... Using my Dao, I will complete the eternal spirit realm, giving birth to another Luotia, and reopening this universe. On the warship, the old man finished speaking, then looked up at the sky and laughed heartily. But as he laughed, a mysterious force appeared in the starry sky, gently sweeping over the warship and him. In an instant, the warship crumbled, as if being instantly corroded. All the matter within, incompatible with the vast eternal realm, vanished in a flash. The old man's body trembled, his laughter slowly ceasing. At the same time, all the flesh and blood on his body disappeared in that instant. Only a skeleton remained, sitting cross-legged, motionless. In his mind, the hole that was closing had become permanent. This warship was now within the starry sky, silently and gradually drifting away. Inside the wordless vortex, only the sound of heavy breathing could be heard. That breathing contained fear and even terror. It seemed that there was an unimaginable fear of this so-called eternal spirit realm, this homeland of Luotia. At the same time, this mysterious intent swept through the vortex. Bai Xiaochun witnessed it firsthand. The vortex was instantly shattered, completely smoothed out, as if simply wiped away. This kind of power. Bai Xiaochun's heart pounded, his mind reeling. On one hand, such a scene had occurred years ago. On the other hand, it was a mysterious intent that shook heaven and earth, terrifying gods and demons. That old man said this place is the eternal spirit realm. This is the homeland of Luotia. Who is Luotia? Bai Xiaochun stared into the starry sky, where the vortex had once appeared. That was also the last place where the mysterious intent appeared. After a long while, Bai Xiaochun noticed that Enifan had naturally stopped pursuing him and was silently looking in the direction where the warship had disappeared. Bai Xiaochun's eyes widened. He thought of Dao Chen's earlier words. His gaze towards Enifan also became strange. This person, is it really Enifan, or perhaps that old man? Hesitating, Bai Xiaochun wondered if he should ask a question to provoke the other party. But just as Bai Xiaochun was about to speak, the vortex that had previously been erased by this mysterious force instantly caved in. After caved in, it unexpectedly protruded again. A low growl emanated from that spot, and a human face emerged from within the starry sky. It was as if the starry sky had become a thin membrane. One side of this membrane was the eternal spirit realm. The other side was an unknown, mysterious space. At this moment, within this unknown world, a powerful being was trying to break through this starry sky membrane, but was unable to do so. Therefore, the outline of his face was formed here. Such a sight not only terrified Bai Xiaochun, but even Enifan suddenly turned his head to look. However, a strange expression quickly appeared in Bai Xiaochun's eyes. He didn't know if Enifan could detect the mysterious meaning in this starry sky, but he could clearly sense that this invisible mysterious meaning had returned, now converging around this face. Seemingly waiting as Bai Xiaochun stared intently, a small vortex gradually appeared around the struggling face. This vortex continuously rotated, as if piercing through the starry sky, connecting the eternal spirit realm with the unknown starry space behind it. At this moment, Bai Xiaochun's eyes widened once again, his eyeballs almost popping out. He saw that, from within the vortex, a giant turtle, resembling a crocodile, with ferocity and rage, its eyes red, emerged from the swirling water. What shocked Bai Xiaochun was that the appearance of this giant turtle, except for its size, was inextricably identical to his own spirit beast. The vast and glorious Dao domain has passed. Next is the moment of my Wei Yang Dao domain. Wei Yang turtle, slay the saint-slaying demon, prevent the birth of the second Lo Tia. After this ferocious alligator turtle charged in, the vortex gradually dissipated. A face emerged from it, slowly retreating. From within the nearly dissipating vortex, a cold, arrogant, and composed voice emerged. But as soon as this voice finished speaking, in an instant, the mysterious intent that had been nearby suddenly stirred. In Bai Xiaochun's perception, this mysterious intent directly entered the nearly disappearing vortex. At the same time, a mournful and astonished cry came from within the vortex. Immediately afterwards, everything paused briefly, and this mysterious energy quickly returned to its original state, swirling around. After dispelling the swirling energy, it rushed straight towards the alligator turtle. This alligator turtle seemed extremely extraordinary. After this mysterious energy approached, its entire body finally emitted a yellow light, especially its shell, which now flickered with the light. After seeing this, Bai Xiaochun's mind suddenly trembled. This shell looked somewhat familiar. Bai Xiaochun's heart trembled as he whispered. He felt that after the mysterious energy swept over the shell, the alligator turtle's body directly disappeared, leaving behind only the shell. At the moment the mysterious energy seemed to want to erase the shell, suddenly, in the place where the shell had been, a huge, illusory flower suddenly appeared in the starry sky. This flower was sometimes vague, sometimes clear, incredibly magnificent. Its appearance, like grasping this turtle shell, gradually merged into itself. Throughout the entire process, the mystical energy within the starry sky did not hinder or further erase the shell. This scene made Bai Xiaochun vaguely think of the little black turtle. Sure enough, after the flower merged with the turtle shell, a newly born little black turtle finally materialized on the flower's leaf, its expression bewildered. It was as if all its memories had been erased by this mystical energy. Now dull-witted, it gradually disappeared into the starry sky along with the flower. The eternal turtle. Bai Xiaochun watched the little black turtle disappear with the flower, his heart trembling. This recollection was of immense significance to him, especially regarding the origins of the little black turtle and his turtle-patterned toad. At this moment, he understood, and a glint of light flickered in his eyes. What truly shocked him was the mysterious intent in this starry sky. His body suddenly trembled, and he rushed straight towards where the eternal flower had disappeared. After arriving in the blink of an eye, Bai Xiaochun suddenly raised his right hand. He sensed that this mysterious intent was still there, not dissipating. He raised his right hand and grasped the place where the mysterious intent existed. He had an indescribable feeling this mysterious intent wouldn't harm him. Yet it was as if, after his ascension to the Lord level, he could feel this power resonating with him in some way. Almost instantly, as Bai Xiaochun's right hand reached out, the distant Lord of the Underworld seemed shaken by what he saw. However, unlike Bai Xiaochun, he didn't sense this mysterious intent. But this didn't mean he didn't know what this mysterious intent was. At this moment, after noticing Bai Xiaochun's actions, Anai Fan's eyes suddenly widened. He's impossible. For the first time, Anai Fan's expression completely changed, his eyes revealing a look of bewildered astonishment. Without hesitation, his cultivation level surged and erupted with overwhelming force. Within this spacetime, his aura instantly became earth-shattering. He raised his right hand, transforming it into the Annihilation Finger. An aura that destroyed all life and annihilated all nothingness burst forth, hurtling straight towards Bai Xiaochun. From afar, the Annihilation Finger finally formed, conjuring an enormous finger, carrying destruction and death, directly attacking Bai Xiaochun. If it were before, Bai Xiaochun would have certainly activated his time reversal ability to evade this deadly attack from Anai Fan, an attack he was utterly incapable of resisting. But now, as he raised his right hand, instinctively reaching towards this mysterious intent, the mysterious intent did not disappear. Instead, Bai Xiaochun directly touched it. In the blink of an eye, upon touching this mysterious intent, Bai Xiaochun's body suddenly trembled. His blood was boiling, his cultivation was exploding, his soul was shaking, and his life itself seemed to be undergoing a transformation at this moment. This is, Bai Xiaochun couldn't describe his feelings. It seemed that this so-called mysterious intent came from the starry sky, from the stars, from any world, from any life, as if within this eternal spirit realm, all things, all existence, were a part of this mysterious intent. Spirit, Bai Xiaochun didn't know why he uttered this word. It was clearly a very ordinary word, but the moment Bai Xiaochun spoke it, this mysterious intent suddenly came alive. Just as good fortune brings enlightenment, Bai Xiaochun suddenly raised his head, looked towards Anai Fan, and raised his right hand, suddenly pointing a finger at Anai Fan. Under this single finger, Anai Fan's expression suddenly changed drastically. The most life-threatening danger he had ever faced erupted from his consciousness in an instant. He suddenly retreated. But as he retreated, in a flash, this mysterious intent pierced through the annihilation finger. The annihilation finger seemed to be immobilized in the starry sky. Then, this mysterious intent pierced through the annihilation finger and directly reached Anai Fan's side. Under Bai Xiaochun's agitation and Anai Fan's panic, this mysterious intent circled his body once. Finally, without causing him any harm, it quietly left. Anai Fan was stunned. Bai Xiaochun also gaped, speechless with disappointment, sweat beginning to bead on his forehead. After a brief silence, as Anai Fan coldly raised his head and looked at Bai Xiaochun, his annihilation finger, which had been immobilized in the starry sky, suddenly erupted with a thunderous roar, hurtling straight towards Bai Xiaochun. What kind of spirit is this, so unreliable? Bai Xiaochun wanted to cry. At this moment, using time reversal was too late. Seeing the annihilation finger approaching, the imminent threat of death caused Bai Xiaochun's eyes to widen in an instant. With a roar, he raised his right hand. Immediately, the turtle pattern cauldron appeared, not to block the annihilation finger, but in the blink of an eye, Bai Xiaochun shouted, "Water swamp." In the instant these two words were uttered, the turtle pattern cauldron in his hand flickered. A golden light appeared, merging into his pool of water, causing the surrounding starry sky, within an infinite radius, to twist and transform into a golden pool. This time, the scale was immense, surpassing all previous realms. Within this swirling mist, Bai Xiaochun roared kingdom. A deafening roar erupted, and within the pool, a golden light burst forth. Under this explosion, mountains suddenly rose from the ground. Beneath the endless mountains, a head resembling a crocodile emerged. Behind this head, a long neck appeared. The scales on its body emitted a golden light. After the head and neck appeared, the starry sky trembled. Two enormous claws, beyond description, also emerged from the pool. Finally, a gigantic turtle shell appeared. In the blink of an eye, as the turtle shell was revealed, the turtle pattern cauldron in Bai Xiaochun's hand directly transformed into a golden light, merging with Bai Xiaochun's life-bound beast. After the fusion, Bai Xiaochun's life-bound beast trembled violently and roared. A more powerful aura finally erupted from within its body, and with a leap, it completely emerged from the swamp. Its enormous body seemed capable of supporting the starry sky. The turtle shell emitted a golden light. Its face was ferocious. From head to toe, it exuded boundless ferocity. That was the alligator turtle that Bai Xiaochun and Anai Fan had seen before, emerging from the vortex and entering the eternal realm. Roar! A deafening roar resounded. This alligator turtle suddenly lunged out, charging straight towards the approaching annihilation finger, completely fearless, fiercely attacking. Anai Fan's expression became extremely grim. Regardless, he truly hadn't expected Bai Xiaochun to be here, displaying such divine abilities, especially this ferocious alligator turtle. Even he was shaken to his core. For Ni Fan, although his clone had previously transformed into the evil emperor and fought a battle against Bai Xiaochun's Water Marsh Kingdom, his main body was still asleep at the time, unable to know the specific and detailed situation of the battle. Therefore, this appearance of the Water Marsh Kingdom was, for Ni Fan, the first time he had truly witnessed it firsthand. His mind was shaken. At this moment, Along with the ferocious and violent alligator turtle, the earth-shattering aura emanating from it became even more intense. If it weren't for the historical images he had seen earlier within the vortex, it would have been fine. But time and again, in the images within this historical vortex, he had personally seen this alligator turtle sent from outer space carrying some kind of mission. Such a strange creature, yet it could be summoned by Bai Xiaochun. This was one of the reasons that shocked Anai Fan's mind. However, he instantly understood the cause and effect of this. But this wasn't the time for careful consideration. In the blink of an eye, as the alligator turtle lunged forward, Anai Fan quickly retreated, trying to avoid its attack, while simultaneously controlling the life annihilation finger, suddenly striking. Following his attack, the alligator turtle roared, its massive body completely ignoring the life annihilation finger. Its entire body, under the influence of a malevolent aura, directly charged forward. After colliding with the life annihilation finger, it didn't retreat at all, forcefully breaking through. With a loud explosion, the life annihilation finger was instantly scattered. The alligator turtle's aura became even more powerful. A furious roar erupted from its mouth, shaking the starry sky. At the same time, it carried boundless power, suddenly colliding violently towards Anai Fan. Anai Fan's expression changed again, his body recoiled, and he formed hand seals. Instantly, a large amount of black energy erupted from his body. The black energy surged rapidly, and in a flash, a gigantic face formed in the starry sky. This face was covered with runes, extremely bizarre and ferocious. After transforming, it lunged towards the approaching alligator turtle, opening its huge mouth and attempting to devour it. But at this moment, the alligator turtle's eyes emitted a dark light. In the instant the face was about to devour it, with a roar, it opened its own bloodthirsty mouth, dozens of times larger than the face itself. From a distance, the face's mouth seemed insignificant. Before it could devour it, the alligator turtle swallowed it whole. Without stopping, this alligator turtle continued its assault. This time, it had firmly sealed off Anai Fan. Such scenes caused the starry sky to tremble. Bai Xiaochun also breathed, revealing his tension. Compared to Anai Fan, Bai Xiaochun understood his own life-bound beast within this water marsh kingdom very well. After all, this was a divine ability he had mastered when he first began cultivating. As his cultivation level increased, step by step, he understood the opponent's origins within this historical image. He began by taking out the turtle pattern cauldron, relying on his lord-level cultivation to summon it with all his might. All these factors combined to make this water marsh kingdom completely different from before. This alligator turtle was full of imposing presence. Its entire body was enveloped in golden light and a ferocious aura, surpassing anything before. Even Bai Xiaochun was terrified when he saw it. Viafin kan rie kssu thine by nahinti ban angoi tin kang, ti sao leba m chen tri ha ra, chayan na bi sich ti thun digi arch ti arki rang. Hin sin ra y tran hoven aching, hin ti tran ji nao ko, chin la kan sieven aching. Sao ki kan rie kssu ba hoven aching bt lai, turk than lin fihup, tt nyan kang navi, ko the bagi hide m sich john viek van aching triu hon. Chiko hio kayan ha kik ma thai. Mahan yk, mccd ko the trio hon, hi nyan kung ko lian kwan kung kwai vanoa. Ls now. Kwak chin kui kunde, snggc gigi quite y trong myong thuban mang ca ta. Beseech ti thun bang nyan kit yong. Non kad rie kssu, hin cm the neonako the leg gigo chit dutch fan nether, amchen kung king cnn ko ichu. Lei y thigim beseech ti thun finchen, trong me mty hi mt gutch fam kui kung lei hoa than ti team. Hi te ca hin ji lan. If the koen sang mao yendi trong te hun fat ra. Con y to me tam ca hen, lse ne ko vong zoe zoot hyen. Bin trong mdh, kui kung lei hyen ra mt nkn. Nkn ne, chin lami ti chi si chin thyen. Y trong chin mt ki nkn ne zoot hyen. Trong myong gutch fem tryan ra tengcha and bees each ti thun en kang hyo, tang thong vien tun, thui nat si ziva. Lse na vang van y tin kang, them kai kung fn hijing the kang ban fia zung quan ni ne. Di jiang navao gig fat ne the jian kung chim lei. Trong tri tim bees each ti thun kang kin hong hun. Hin non the ggcydgi chan gutch fam kin kang jum na mtg jiang, trong ne mt tan v. Miam mt ting, Wyban trong tin kang tin vi nay, mi ti chi si chin thien si ziva, ton rocky tict wang np3, lay troc tip vt raw. Guide scc, beniningui kem hu vang chichit. Chim thien via ra, tin kang yang, kam fang ench ln, kita vien kung vien tan, bo fat kan thien, kondang lan jo bio, miam kuch tan via ben fia zung quan. Cho di la bi siege tu thun yk, din the kung yang nen liat, kangeng lu via fia sao. Cho la, guch fram vien zem thon con rie kssu. Con rie kssu nayangoi tri hung tan ra, con ccck thamen. Mt kik chin la hunna hugc coachet sb dong kang tit. Gim nay bi siege tu thun arch di koln hai. LSE na chodi chin thien zut hien, ki the turn ap tam thien gi, han con rie kssu hon tong kang lu ra fia sao, enguk lay trong mtls ra ss gin kyun, mukai myong ln ra. Trong ting miam, na lay troc tip ti gn guch fam, hun na kang mon ti chin thien na zut hien, kang non tiban trong tun raki ticgg I hint try a mayang gvvi na fat sin. Kui kung lay trong ting regao, na mu myong. Guch fam kung vvi chin thien hien ho ra dgi than hen, ttc hu troc tip anon nut vel trong myong. Even though Bai Xiaojun understood the alligator snapping turtle well, his eyes almost popped out. This feeling was like witnessing a mortal swallow a bolt of lightning. You, how can you eat anything? As Bai Xiaojun cried out in astonishment, the alligator snapping turtle, with a look of arrogance and smugness, roared to the heavens, as if its ability to swallow him was something to boast about. Ignoring Bai Xiaojun's surprised cry, it instantly plunged into the surrounding pool of water right before Bai Xiaojun's eyes. Very quickly, it and the pool disappeared from Bai Xiaojun's sight. Bai Xiaojun was left speechless. Is it over? I'm blown up. Bai Xiaojun hesitated. He still felt his life-bound beast wasn't very reliable. Especially in the netherworld, he seemed to sense a violent surge of energy erupting within the Watermarsh Kingdom space. Bai Xiaojun spun around, completely without hesitation, his hands forming a series of hand seals. Instantly, swirling vortices of light appeared around him. This time, the vortex wasn't a continuation of the recollection, but a return to reality. Naifan can certainly break free. I must seize the opportunity. Bai Xiaojun's body moved like lightning, leaping into the vortex in an instant, his figure vanishing. When he reappeared, he was back in reality. With a slight shake, his body vanished again. When he reappeared once more, he was in the former immortal realm Starry Sky, in its ruined world. Compared to the other 108 myriad worlds, this place gave Bai Xiaojun a sense of belonging. Aside from the eternal immortal realm, this immortal realm gave him a final glimmer of destiny, allowing him to ascend from heavenly venerate to primordial. At this moment, his true form instantly appeared in the ruined immortal realm. He wanted to seize the time, during the brief period when Naifan was trapped, to personally arrive at the ruined immortal realm and rekindle its light. Simultaneously, his divine consciousness spread out. Taking advantage of the fact that Naifan's Dao body was uncontrolled and lacked agility, he controlled his own Dao body, unleashing its power across these 108 myriad worlds, fully engaging Naifan's Dao body to slay it and seize control of the starry sky realms. In an instant, within these 180,000 realms, the battle between Bai Xiaojun's Dao body and Naifan erupted, and a difference suddenly appeared. Previously, Bai Xiaojun's Dao body was at a disadvantage. But today, with Bai Xiaojun's early return, his Dao body immediately radiated a bright light. Under this fierce battle, Naifan's Dao body finally showed signs of decline. In this instant, the entire starry sky seemed to be overshadowed by darkness. Meanwhile, in the ruined immortal realm, Bai Xiaojun sat cross-legged in meditation, his divine consciousness spreading out, merging with the entire ruins. Using his true power, his Dao, and his lordly aura, he slowly illuminated and radiated life into this ruined immortal realm. At the same time, his divine consciousness was constantly monitoring the Watermarsh Kingdom in the netherworld. Once the rebellious mortal inside escaped his confinement, he would instantly detect it and immediately confront and stop him. Time passed breath by breath. Within the 108,000 realms, the rebellious mortal's Dao body continuously fled. In the increasingly dazzling light, By Xiaochun's divine consciousness in the ruined immortal realm finally dispelled the darkness on the ground beneath his feet, illuminating the area with a kind of light, causing the light to spread. From afar, the originally dark ruined immortal realm now looked like a candle flame. The appearance of this candle flame further shocked Bai Xiaochun's body. He once again felt this mysterious meaning descend. It seemed that as he illuminated the ruined immortal realm, this mysterious meaning became even more intense and clear. The light in the ruined immortal realm became even more intense. In the 88,000 realms, at this moment, the Tao body of DEFIED, having failed in the mortal world and fled, even a portion of the ruins, were illuminated by the light of Bai Xiaochun's Tao body. The darkness was dispelled, and light shone forth. Although it was no longer possible to judge the struggle between Bai Xiaochun and DEFIED based on the amount of ruins burned, as was the case earlier, now, if there were an absolute height in the starry sky, looking down, one could still see that in the starry sky. Although darkness was everywhere, light was also everywhere, and that light occupied the overall area. Even if dispersed, its appearance exceeded 5 parts, reaching more than 6 parts, even nearly 7 parts. From then on, the entire starry sky seemed to be radiating light, its vitality even more intense. Especially in the ruined immortal realm, because Bai Xiaochun's true form was illuminating it himself, and a trace of immortal destiny emanated from him, this destiny acting like a conduit, causing the light of the ruined immortal realm to continuously spread outwards. At this moment, Bai Xiaochun's aura rapidly increased. His mind was neither happy nor sad, as if he had entered some strange state. In this state, he felt this profound meaning even more clearly. This is, within the great eternal realm, the origin of all things. Bai Xiaochun saw his Tao body within the 108,000 realms. Within it were countless corpses and relics, all containing this profound meaning. Even in the starry sky, these countless coffins formed a vast body of water, and within them, the profound meaning permeated. This is, within the great eternal realm, the source of all things. Bai Xiaochun saw that even these ruins themselves, and even the countless dust particles in this starry sky, contain profound meaning, albeit very faintly. This is the reason why the eternal immortal realm gave birth to flowers. Finally, Bai Xiaochun sensed the eternal immortal realm gently floating in the starry sky. He even saw his relatives and friends in the eternal immortal realm. At this moment, they were worried, seemingly praying. In the eternal immortal realm, Bai Xiaochun sensed even more profound meaning. Compared to the rest of the starry sky, only 2 places had this profound meaning so intensely. One was the ruined immortal realm, and the other was the eternal immortal realm. Especially the eternal immortal realm, it seemed that with the annihilation of countless worlds and races, this profound meaning almost entirely flowed towards the eternal immortal realm. During the process of illuminating this ruined immortal realm, as he gradually sensed and understood, Bai Xiaochun suddenly realized that is the origin, that is, the eternal origin. The eternal flower, born within the eternal origin, hence the rumor that devouring the eternal flower allows one to enter the eternal realm. Therefore, what DEFIED said about annihilating everything is partly a manifestation of his Tao. On the other hand, only in this way can the eternal flower condense enough eternal origin. In fact, this is both true and false. Devouring the eternal flower doesn't mean one can enter the eternal realm, but rather, it grants the qualification to merge with the eternal origin in this starry sky. Merging with the eternal origin is like a dove in a magpie's nest, thereby harvesting the eternal origin. This is the ultimate path of the reverse mortal. Bai Xiaochun whispered softly. His voice didn't fluctuate in the starry sky, but rather spread within his mind, like thunder rumbling, constantly reverberating. As Bai Xiaochun understood this, the mysteries of the eternal origin became even clearer suddenly. Bai Xiaochun's eyelids twitched. His state of immersion was interrupted. He clearly perceived that within the Watermarsh Kingdom in the Netherworld, an overwhelming destructive force was erupting. In the blink of an eye, as this destruction erupted, the immortal realm crumbled, and above the starry sky where Bai Xiaochun was, a thunderous roar suddenly resounded. Under this thunderous explosion, an enormous crack appeared directly in the starry sky. I heard people say your name is Bai Xiaochun. A low, frenzied voice suddenly emanated from within this crack. After it emerged, the surrounding starry sky twisted and warped. A dark, dense, icy aura rapidly spread, freezing everything in its path. A colossal, earth-shattering warship, amidst the deafening explosion, emerged directly from within this crack, carrying an aura of dominance, madness, and a crushing, destructive force. After bursting out, even this crack couldn't withstand it, being directly shattered, revealing the bow of the warship. And revealed, at this moment, was a figure standing on the bow, long hair flowing in the wind, eyes filled with a black light, as if he were the only supreme being in the heavens and earth. In the vast, starry sky, Lord Ni-Fan. The fluctuations emanating from him were incredibly chaotic, affecting the surroundings. It seemed that after his appearance, the starry sky itself was trembling. Especially a mark materialized on his forehead. Upon closer inspection, this mark resembled a hole. But that wasn't the most astonishing thing. Most shocking of all, the remains that had once existed on this warship had vanished. Behind Ni-Fan, a powerful, ethereal figure, as if capable of supporting the starry sky, stood majestically on the warship. That figure, clad in a gray robe, was an old man, his forehead suddenly pierced by a hole, just like the one belonging to Lord Ni-Fan. After appearing, an overwhelming aura of annihilation emanated from him. Bai Xiaochun slowly raised his head, opening his eyes, looking at Lord Ni-Fan below, especially at the hazy, illusory old man behind him. This Lord Ni-Fan seemed to possess even greater cultivation and fighting spirit than before. But in Bai Xiaochun's eyes, he could still see that Lord Ni-Fan had been injured within the Watermarsh Kingdom. Not a physical injury, but one from within his soul, from his very essence. This injury was concentrated at his forehead. I am indeed Bai Xiaochun, but are you Ni-Fan, or? The outsider, called Exterminator Saint. Bai Xiaochun stood up. After he stood up, as his voice echoed, the starry sky seemed to tremble, the heavens and earth seemed to explode. Throughout the entire starry sky, a resonant sound seemed to continuously reverberate, making Bai Xiaochun's words seem to simultaneously erupt from 180,000 realms, shaking everything. Even Ni-Fan's eyes flashed with a dark light. Evidently, during the continuous battle with Bai Xiaochun, after being repeatedly weakened and realizing how formidable Bai Xiaochun was, and seeing that Bai Xiaochun's cultivation seemed to have broken through, he had developed a aversion towards Bai Xiaochun that he had never seen in his life, especially after ascending to the Lord level never before. The two looked at each other, neither speaking further. Until, at this very moment, the thunder erupted once again, this enormous crack completely shattered, and the entire warship, emerging from within, burst forth. The instant the warship sped out, Lord Ni-Fan suddenly raised his right hand and pointed towards the starry sky. Under this single gesture, the 108,000 ruined realms within this starry sky were instantly dispelled by the light of Bai Xiaochun's dull body, leaving only about 3/4 of the ruins. Suddenly, an endless chill emanated from them. This chill instantly froze 3/4 of the area. No matter how close Bai Xiaochun's dull body approached, it could not melt the frozen area. At the same time, after all the ruins in the dark area were frozen, all of Ni-Fan's Tao bodies within these 108,000 realms transformed into black gas and disappeared into the ruins. Suddenly appearing out of nowhere in the celestial realm, he hurtled straight towards Ni-Fan. As these dark energies merged, after retrieving all his Tao bodies, the body of the Lord of the rebellious mortal realm suddenly grew larger, as if it wouldn't be long before he could once again become the earliest giant of time, standing outside the eternal flower. Bai Xiaochun's eyes flashed. He knew this was the final battle between him and the Lord of the rebellious mortal realm. At this moment, he took a deep breath without hesitation, spread out his divine consciousness, and summoned all 180,000 Tao bodies within the 180,000 realms to return. In an instant, Bai Xiaochun's Tao bodies in all the ruins within the starry sky directly transformed into countless dandelions, suddenly returning and appearing all around Bai Xiaochun. These illusory dandelions instantly merged into Bai Xiaochun's body. As each Tao body returned, at this very moment, Bai Xiaochun's aura filled the starry sky. His body also became full of imposing power. Amidst the deafening roars echoing in all directions, from afar, to colossal figures suddenly appeared in the celestial realm, growing ever larger. Finally, their silhouettes surpassed the celestial realm itself, as if capable of supporting the entire universe, reaching unimaginable heights. In this battle, if N.I. wins, the eternal immortal realm will undoubtedly be devoured and integrated by him. Even the vast eternal realm will be absorbed by him, his eternal essence fused into the eternal realm. And the so-called Saint Destroyer will, at that very moment, use N.I.'s resurrection to leave this desolate and deathly eternal spirit realm, surpassing his previous supreme realm, and merge with the so-called Wei Yang Dao realm. Bai Xiaojun understood all of this clearly. Although he didn't know what kind of existence the Wei Yang Dao realm was, he knew one thing for sure. That is, the Wei Yang Dao realm feared the eternal spirit realm. What they feared was the eternal essence. That was enough. With unwavering conviction, a glint of light appeared in Bai Xiaojun's eyes. In an instant, he glanced at N.I., who suddenly moved. His colossal body instantly reappeared before Bai Xiaojun. He raised his right hand and directly punched. No divine abilities, no techniques, because he knew that all divine abilities and techniques were of no use at this moment. Their bodies, each of their punches, were divine abilities, techniques, and fundamental essence. The great Tao was simplified. In the end, at their level, a seemingly simple punch was enough to shatter all rules and laws, disregarding all divine abilities. At the same time, an ordinary lord facing them would be instantly annihilated, body and soul destroyed by this single punch. Amidst the deafening explosion, Bai Xiaojun also raised his head and similarly threw a punch. Within this punch was contained his cultivation, his physical body, his Tao, and everything else he possessed. When unleashed, the starry sky was distorted, the 8 directions twisted, like a storm colliding, directly producing an earth-shattering sound. In the rumbling, the two directly engaged in a duel in this void. In a short time, both sides exchanged over 10,000 punches. With each punch, Bai Xiaojun and N.I. both groaned. After 1,000 punches, blood trickled from the corners of their mouths. After 10,000 punches, each spat out blood. Their bodies, under the explosive force of this clash, began to shrink. This was because each punch inflicted immense damage during their duel. Even though both were already supreme lords, they couldn't withstand it. The price to pay was their Tao bodies. In a sense, their Tao bodies were like an extra life. Each time the two sides attacked, it was a death for them. Only, it was their Tao bodies that died. From this, it can be seen that at the level of Bai Xiaojun and N.I., they had reached a certain point, practically immortal, because their lives numbered around 180,000. Only when all 180,000 Tao bodies fell would their main life force be consumed. At this moment, Bai Xiaojun and N.I. had transformed from the chaotic battle filled with time and space into the most direct, primitive, and brutal kind of duel. The thunderous clash echoed incessantly, and blood gushed from both of them. Their bodies were shrinking. Their Tao bodies were shattering and perishing one by one. This shattering and perishing wasn't happening synchronously. Normally, a single punch from N.I. wouldn't cause any problems for himself, but it would shatter and perish one of Bai Xiaojun's Tao bodies. Conversely, under Bai Xiaojun's attack, N.I.'s Tao body would die. Yet, in this intertwined state, amidst the deafening explosions between the two sides, within this battlefield of the starry sky, the two attacked, starting from the ruined immortal realm, unleashing a torrent of explosions that soared through the rubble, maintaining a continuous confrontation within this starry sky. The only regrettable thing was that in this starry sky, life only existed in the eternal immortal realm, and the starry sky was too vast, so no one could see their attacks. However, the level of ferocity intensified with their relentless assault. It was a matter of life or death. The deafening roars surpassed the thunder, becoming the only sound in the starry sky. Bai Xiaojun continuously spat out fresh blood, his chest caved in, and his entire body felt as if it were about to shatter. The Immortal Scroll, a divine ability capable of restoring all injuries, had finally lost its effectiveness. The true power came from N.I. His destructive power was simply impossible to erase in a short time. Similarly, N.I.'s recovery was also interrupted. Bai Xiaojun's power contained light, which, for N.I.'s Tao, was like encountering a natural enemy. His recovery was simply impossible to carry out. Again, in this fierce battle, the two of them unleashed a barrage of punches, from 10,000 to 100,000, then 200,000, 300,000. Wherever they passed, the starry sky shattered. Looking back at the entire starry sky, it was riddled with countless holes. Even the surrounding ruins were affected, reduced to dust under the frenzied onslaught of the two. Bai Xiaochun, I admire you, but you are no match for me. Anifan roared, blood gushing out, and he lunged forward again. Bai Xiaochun reluctantly raised his head and laughed loudly. At this moment, he no longer feared death and attacked again. 500,000 punches, 600,000 punches, 700,000 punches. The bodies of the two had shrunk by more than half, but they still fought fiercely. This was entirely about exhausting each other's Dao bodies. There was no dodging, no escaping. Anifan didn't evade because he had an intense desire to kill Bai Xiaochun. Only by killing Bai Xiaochun, this last remaining resistance, could he fulfill his wish. Bai Xiaochun didn't evade either. It wasn't that his blood was boiling, wanting to fight Anifan to the death. In fact, he truly thought that way from the beginning. But after fighting for a while, he realized that continuing like this would ultimately be disadvantageous to him. Then, just as he was considering whether to evade or even prolong the fight, he suddenly realized that as his Dao body died, and as he fought Anifan, he seemed to feel the eternal essence existing in this starry sky more clearly. What exactly is eternity? Bai Xiaochun's breathing became erratic. There was no time for further thought. He chose to follow his intuition. His eyes flashed with madness as he attacked again. Time passed, and this battle, from beginning to end, had lasted an unknown amount of time. Perhaps 10 years, perhaps 20 years, perhaps even longer. They fought from 700,000 punches, reaching 900,000, then 1 million, and finally, surpassing 1,800,000, or even more. The heavens and earth exploded, and the bodies of the two, from their initial colossal size, gradually shrank as their individual avatars vanished. Until only a small fraction of their avatars remained, their battlefield in this starry sky had reached the eternal immortal realm. Not far away, the eternal immortal realm emitted a gentle light. Although dim, countless life forms within radiated vitality, particularly noticeable in this starry sky. At the same time, as Bai Xiaochun and Anifan arrived, the beings of the eternal immortal realm also noticed. In fact, this battle, for everyone in the eternal immortal realm, had lasted a full 60 years. That was 60 years. In these 60 years, they had not forgotten Bai Xiaochun, nor the figure of Anifan. They knew that the life and death crisis was not over. Because when they looked towards the starry sky, how could they not see that within the starry sky, two existences like stars had been constantly clashing for these 60 years? Little Bao had grown up. Dabo and Zizi both looked like middle-aged people. Whether it was Zhang Zhonglan, Zhou Zimai, or Hou Xiaomei, their appearances remained the same, but a sense of sorrow could be seen in their eyes. The Grand Celestial Master was fine, the Giant Ghost King was also fine, and countless others from the eternal immortal realm throughout these 5 months. Their hearts were filled with unceasing prayers. Until this very moment, as the battlefield between Bai Xiaochun and Anifan approached the eternal immortal realm, they all saw. Bai Xiaochun, you've deliberately led the battlefield here. Bai Xiaochun, you want to die here, so I'll grant your wish. In the starry sky, Anifan wiped away the fresh blood from the corner of his mouth. At this moment, he had 10 clones left. Bai Xiaochun, on the other hand, only had 3. Their bodies had all transformed into ordinary people. When the two sides clashed again, Bai Xiaochun spat out blood, and Anifan also spat out blood. Under the deafening explosion, both their bodies recoiled. You have to left. But the figure of Anifan suddenly reversed, like a shooting star, his eyes revealing madness and murderous intent. It seemed that the killing intent within him had completely erupted at this moment, charging straight towards Bai Xiaochun, and in an instant, he unleashed 5 punches in quick succession. These 5 punches exploded simultaneously. The starry sky trembled, and the heavens and earth exploded. Bai Xiaochun frantically spat out fresh blood. The 2 remaining clones shattered directly. His main body roared and counterattacked with 5 punches. In an instant, 2 of Anifan's 10 clones also shattered. But with the 5th punch, 2 of the formed clones shattered, causing Bai Xiaochun's main body to be directly shaken. The sound of bones breaking echoed from head to toe. As fresh blood gushed out, his body was directly swept backward, falling towards the eternal immortal realm. Kui Huang. Father, Xiaochun. The final blow from these two was witnessed by all beings in the eternal immortal realm. Cries of astonishment and despair erupted. They saw Bai Xiaochun plummeting from the sky, his body hurtling towards the eternal sea. In the starry sky, Anifan's body trembled. In truth, this battle between him and Bai Xiaochun had consumed an unimaginable amount of energy. Bai Xiaochun was incredibly difficult to deal with and incredibly powerful. It was the first time in his life he had encountered someone so formidable. He had finally annihilated all of Bai Xiaochun's Dao bodies, leaving only 8 of his own. But he understood that if Bai Xiaochun were given time to recover, the battle between them would likely never end. I won't give you a chance. Anifan's eyes flashed, and he raised his right hand, grabbing at the void. Immediately, the starry sky behind him exploded. The ancient warship that had previously appeared above the ruined immortal realm suddenly burst forth with a loud bang. Upon appearing, this dark warship didn't stop, but instead charged straight towards Bai Xiaochun. Or rather, directly towards the eternal immortal realm below Bai Xiaochun, aiming to destroy it. Judging by its momentum, it intended to annihilate the eternal immortal realm first. In this battle, Bai Xiaochun ultimately shifted the battlefield to the eternal immortal realm. Anifan naturally noticed this, but his target was also the eternal immortal realm. On this point, he and Bai Xiaochun agreed. The warship, with its astonishing momentum, formed a black storm, and under its continuous expansion, a surging, overwhelming force arose, as if carrying endless annihilation and darkness, and containing boundless death, suddenly closing in. It was as if everything had returned to square one. The two had started their battle here, and ended it here. As the warship approached, the ground of the eternal immortal realm shattered. The entire immortal realm seemed on the verge of destruction. Bai Xiaochun's vision blurred. His body was now extremely weak. Under the power of the immortal scroll, he couldn't recover, and his internal organs felt like they were about to shatter and perish. His injuries were too severe. That final punch from Anifan, while not directly killing his physical body, had inflicted serious wounds. As his body fell, Bai Xiaochun struggled to open his eyes, looking up at the ancient, dark warship in the sky, seemingly crushing down upon the eternal immortal realm, and feeling the impending death emanating from the entire eternal immortal realm. So my final choice in coming here is either to be buried alongside my family and friends, or to borrow the eternal essence here and launch a desperate counterattack. Bai Xiaochun tried to control his aura, his eyes filled with both relief and a hint of anticipation. His entire being, inside and out, was almost completely annihilated. Under the circumstances where the flame of his life could be extinguished at any moment, he felt as if he were being guided by the netherworld. It seemed in this state, his perception of the eternal origin was the strongest moment of his entire life. What exactly is the origin? Bai Xiaochun looked up at the sky. A massive black warship arrived amidst a deafening roar. He felt the destructive force emanating from it, feeling the entire eternal immortal realm trembling, as if unable to withstand it, about to be torn apart. He felt the flickering flame of life coming from all living beings, from each and every person. He couldn't help but murmur softly. The primordial essence is formless and invisible, seemingly non-existent, yet simultaneously creates and encompasses all existence and all external appearances. Bai Xiaochun raised his head, his eyes seemingly filled with starlight, overflowing with all things. As his words echoed, all the eternal primordial essences in the eternal immortal realm surrounding him transformed into profound meanings, finally vibrating simultaneously, as if shaken by Bai Xiaochun, creating a resonance. The primordial essence has no beginning or end, simultaneously creating and encompassing all things before and after. As soon as these words left Bai Xiaochun's mouth, all these profound meanings surrounding him erupted, converging towards Bai Xiaochun, and finally forming an invisible storm around his body. The origin has no space, yet it creates and encompasses all space. As Bai Xiaochun uttered his third sentence, this profound meaning formed a storm, moving faster and faster, becoming an imperceptible vortex, propelling Bai Xiaochun's body forward. Finally, even though Bai Xiaochun was weakened to the extreme, his body stopped falling and instead hovered in the heavens. The origin has no time, yet it creates and encompasses all time. A fierce light shone in Bai Xiaochun's eyes. This was his fourth sentence. The moment he spoke, the profound meaning surrounding him formed a vortex, then immediately began to rumble, propelling Bai Xiaochun's body, no longer hovering, but soaring straight into the starry sky. From afar, he seemed to have risen. The starry sky trembled, as if the sound of the great Tao resonated, echoing throughout the universe. Even in the world of hundreds of thousands of ruins, which were once frozen and sealed by darkness, it began to crumble. In the starry sky, Nifan's eyes suddenly widened, his mind surging with overwhelming waves of shock, and he cried out in astonishment, "This is the aura of eternity." Just as Nifan was trembling in shock, Bai Xiaochun's voice echoed from within the eternal immortal realm, spreading throughout the entire eternal world. The origin, I still haven't understood. Eternity, I still have only half a grasp of it. Bai Xiaochun slowly closed his eyes again. He was still weak. But at this moment, his frail body, when his eyes opened again, revealed a fierce confidence. But life resonates with the great Tao, vitality resonates with the profound mysteries. With this, slaying the rebellious mortal is certainly enough. At this moment, a flame instantly burned out from Bai Xiaochun's body. It was burning the Tao, burning life and vitality, and within his body, silently and without a sound, some earth-shattering transformation occurred, seemingly a breakthrough from a part of the Lord realm, causing this eternal origin to condense into profound meaning and surge forth. Borrowing this surge, relying on his perception in the netherworld, Bai Xiaochun raised his right hand towards the black warship in the sky, which was now exploding and hurtling towards him, containing endless destruction, and suddenly, just one finger. This finger, seemingly calm and unremarkable, completely devoid of any divine power or magical fluctuations. But day after day, under this single command, the expression of Nifan in the starry sky changed drastically, more than ever before, and he even exclaimed in astonishment, "You." But before he could finish speaking, the black warship that was descending upon the eternal immortal realm suddenly fell silent in the heavens and earth, maintaining its impact. But starting from the bow, it seemed to become a painting in the heavens and earth, directly erased by an invisible giant hand. Visible to the naked eye, the bow disappeared, followed by the body of the warship, until the entire warship, filled with the aura of death and possessing immense power, completely vanished without a trace. Completely, all traces of its existence were erased. The sky was completely still. Bai Xiaochun's complexion was even paler. With this one finger, he was manipulating the eternal origin to form a mysterious force, no longer using it as a guide during his recollection of time as before to attack Nifan. This time, he was merging it into himself, paying a heavy price by consuming his own life force, relying on resonance with the starry sky and the eternal origin to force it. Guiding and forcing have completely different meanings. His body weakened even more, but his eyes shone even brighter. His finger was still raised, but Nifan in the starry sky was shaken to the extreme. All living beings were stunned. It seemed that at this moment, under Bai Xiaochun's finger, everything was shaken to its core. In this silence, Nifan's body trembled for the first time. He had a strong feeling that if he didn't stop Bai Xiaochun, he would never have another chance in his life. At this moment, Bai Xiaochun gave him an overwhelming sense of terror. Even the invisible figure behind him, now called the Exterminator Saint, was shaken. His eyes revealed endless memories from years past. His lips parted slightly, no sound came out, but judging from the shape of his mouth as he spoke, he seemed to utter two words, "Luo Ta." "Stop him!" Nifan roared. The figure of the exterminator behind him also roared. In this instant, neither of them knew who initiated it, but in the blink of an eye, they overlapped completely. After the complete overlap, the mark on Nifan's forehead, which was originally a hole, directly transformed into his third eye, suddenly opening and revealing. It was no longer Nifan's eye, but belonged to the one called the Exterminator. In a loud explosion, at this moment, Nifan's body seemed to radiate even more terrifying waves than before, rushing straight towards Bai Xiaochun. At this moment, Bai Xiaochun's body was lifted by a mysterious vortex formed by the eternal origin. He took one step at a time, heading towards the starry sky, until, in an instant, he emerged from the eternal immortal realm standing in the starry sky, and instantly arrived at the location of the Nifan Lord. Bai Xiaochun raised his finger and pointed. His second finger, silently and without a sound, was pointed out. In an instant, half of Bai Xiaochun's hair turned gray. His skin also seemed to lose its radiant glow. His life force, his vitality vanished in that split second, transforming into an invisible force, resonating with the great Tao of the starry sky, resonating with the profound mysteries formed by this eternal origin. In this resonance, the profound meaning surrounding him erupted, merging into Bai Xiaochun's finger, and rushing straight towards the approaching Lord of the Rebellious Mortals. The Lord of the Rebellious Mortals' face changed drastically. With a low roar, he raised both hands. His third eye at the center of his forehead erupted with intense black light, causing countless black light screens to form around his body in that instant. No amount of light, even a full-force attack from a lord, could shatter the barrier of destruction. At this moment, he exerted all his strength to stop him. Simultaneously, he accelerated his charge towards Bai Xiaochun. Even if you can shake the eternal realm, you are too weak right now. Just get close, and one punch will kill you. Lord Anifan roared. Bai Xiaochun's expression remained unchanged. But in the instant Anifan's voice echoed, his body finally trembled violently. Within this tremor, countless black light screens formed around his body. These barriers, seemingly impervious to vibration, were now like the black warship before, instantly vanishing like a painting, layer by layer, completely erased. After being erased, they spread to Lord Anifan's body. A mournful scream erupted from Lord Anifan's mouth. In that instant, his body seemed to shatter. Blood gushed out. At the same time, blood and tears streamed down from the third eye in the center of his forehead. Even his remaining 8 clones shattered and perished at this very moment. At the same time, while his whole body trembled, even his aura weakened considerably. But he considered this the price to pay for resisting Bai Xiaochun's second astonishing attack. However, at this moment, a look of madness appeared in his eyes, and he finally didn't retreat, but instead took a step forward, charging straight towards Bai Xiaochun. His speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, he was 10 meters away from Bai Xiaochun. Just as he was about to strike, Bai Xiaochun, weakened but with an unchanging expression, raised his finger and unleashed the third attack. With this single strike, all of his hair instantly turned gray. His entire body was immediately covered in wrinkles. He aged to the extreme. Even his eyes were somewhat dim and hazy. Shaking the eternal origin and forcing the profound meaning, for Bai Xiaochun, the price to pay was extremely high. At this moment, the third attack seemed to be his limit. In the blink of an eye, as his fingertips descended, this mysterious intent once again condensed, rushing straight towards Anifan. No! Anifan shrieked, his eyes filled with terror. But the third eye on his forehead instantly turned gray, causing his body to seemingly lose control and continue to charge forward. It seemed that even in death, he wanted to kill Bai Xiaochun. But just as he approached, the mysterious intent forced by Bai Xiaochun's third finger instantly erupted. This destructive force spread, directly affecting Lord Anifan. Anifan's entire body trembled. His body visibly disappeared. First his legs, then his arms, his torso, until his head. This Lord Anifan, who had once dominated the starry sky and destroyed 108,000 realms, now had all his existence irreversible, rapidly dissipating. Just as his head was about to be obliterated, in an instant, the third eye at the center of his forehead suddenly swelled up. The gray color inside became even more intense. It seemed that as Anifan disappeared, this third eye was frantically absorbing all of Anifan's life force and Tao throughout his life. At the same time, in that split second, Anifan's eyes instantly became transparent. This transparent gaze fell upon Bai Xiaochun, and Bai Xiaochun's body trembled. He thought of the first scene in Dao Chen's memory, locusts swarming across the snowy sky, the child's eyes desperately searching for food for his younger brother. Just like now, pure and transparent. Brother killed, the saint. In the instant this transparent gaze appeared, a final scream escaped from Anifan's nearly obliterated mouth, from his life. The sound echoed, and at that moment, it was as if his head had been wiped clean, instantly erased. Anifan, death. Just then, in the instant Anifan's head was obliterated, the third eye at his forehead suddenly shattered and exploded. After shattering, a large amount of gray energy erupted, directly clashing with Bai Xiaochun's third finger. In the loud explosion, the mysterious power of the third finger dissipated. All this gray energy also shattered, but instead of dissipating, it swirled back together, condensing into a human form. It was no longer an fan, but a figure radiating an even purer aura of annihilation and death. This aura, as frenzied as the boundless heavens, even if everything were annihilated, only he would remain. The figure that transformed was an old man, clad in a gray robe. It was the same Saint Annihilation he had seen in Bai Xiaochun's flashback, stepping onto the warship and entering the eternal Great Realm. Unfortunately, you no longer have the strength to unleash this fourth technique of Luo Tia. The old man smiled, his body surging forward with a roar, charging straight towards Bai Xiaochun. His body wasn't solid upon approaching. It once again transformed into gray gas, as if wanting to pierce through and enter Bai Xiaochun's body. But the moment he got close, Bai Xiaochun became incredibly weak, his vision blurring, and he spoke hoarsely. "Is that so?" His words echoed, and in the blink of an eye, he raised his right hand and brought it down. The fourth finger. As this finger descended, the old man's smiling expression remained unchanged, his eyes even showing a hint of mockery. Throughout his life, he had fought countless powerful individuals. He judged that Bai Xiaochun had no strength left, and indeed, he had no strength left. How could he retreat after such a deceptive act? His body was still moving closer in an instant, but as he approached, his smile froze on his face. His eyes revealed disbelief and fear. Impossible. He didn't move any closer, but instantly retreated. But it was too late. With a single strike from Bai Xiaochun, although his hair completely fell out, his body hunched over, radiating a profound sense of aging, reduced to skin and bones. His entire being on the verge of collapse, all his vitality extinguished. His life had reached its end. Yet, time and again, he ultimately did not die. Not only was there no death, but there was even a surge of vitality, as if it had suddenly erupted from within his body, from an unknown location. This vitality was clearly not Bai Xiaochun's. However, although this vitality was abundant, it was conceivable that forcing the profound mysteries of the eternal origin would require an enormous amount of energy. Yet, the total output of this vitality was truly enormous. Even with all its might, it could still unleash the fourth final finger. This can't be. The exterminator saint's heart trembled. He had calculated everything, even sacrificing his own prepared Dao body to neutralize Bai Xiaochun's 3 fingers. He had also guessed that Bai Xiaochun wouldn't be able to unleash the 4th finger. But now, the vitality emanating from Bai Xiaochun's body shattered all his judgments and calculations. Where did this life force come from? In his daze and panic, the Saint Sleiya didn't notice that in the distant eternal immortal realm, within the rebuilt imperial city, the little black turtle, which had initially been anxiously gazing at the sky along with everyone else, suddenly let out a mournful cry. Its body instantly withered. A large area of its life force disappeared, and it directly fell to the ground, convulsing and unconscious. Its life force was only a sliver away from being completely drained. Bai Xiaochun, I hate you before losing consciousness. The little black turtle thought of the time it was discovered by Bai Xiaochun. When it had formed a life link with him, if Bai Xiaochun were killed, it would also die, but so many years had passed, and the little black turtle had long forgotten this. As for other beings, even the connection between it and Bai Xiaochun wouldn't be able to withstand the deployment of the 4th finger. But time and time again, the little black turtle was the eternal turtle, and it even came from the outer starry sky. Even so, its seemingly endless vitality was drained away to just a trace, allowing Bai Xiaochun, along with his remaining strength, to unleash the 4th finger. At this moment, under the 4th finger, the starry sky was completely still. Bai Xiaochun, exhausted, slowly closed his eyes, as if he no longer had the strength to open them. His body also lost its support, slowly drifting towards the direction of the eternal immortal realm. The moment his eyes closed, the exterminating saint let out the loudest roar ever. His body didn't even have time to tremble. At this moment, under the mysterious 4th finger, it directly shattered, transforming into countless gray gases that tried to escape, but were still pursued. Following the mysterious cleansing, after being erased, the gray mist, seemingly incredibly stubborn, finally condensed once again, transforming into the figure of the Saint Sleiya. Only fear was in his eyes, and he fled once more. But he could not change his inevitable demise. Within this spreading mysterious energy beneath him, he repeatedly shattered and then reformed, the gray mist surrounding him becoming increasingly thin. His aura grew weaker and weaker. Even under these repeated reformations, his legs disappeared. His body, his arms, had all dispersed. At this moment, only about half of his body and head remained. Unwilling. The Saint Flea felt an overwhelming bitterness. Success was clearly within his grasp, so difficult, just a little more, and he could have become eternal. But all of this suddenly happened, and then directly collapsed. Seeing his head about to disintegrate again, in this intense frenzy, the exterminating saint suddenly looked towards Bai Xiaochun, who was gently floating towards the eternal immortal realm. A sinister glint flashed in his eyes. If I cannot succeed, then I will simply give birth to another Luotia in this eternal spirit realm. Luotia, you have too many worries. How can you become a true Luotia like that? All right, I will fulfill your wish. From now on, you will be ruthless, cold, and cruel, without acquaintances or friends. All those who have come into contact with you will be buried. You will undergo this final trial, become Luotia, and destroy the Wei Yang Dao domain. As he spoke, the exterminating saint suddenly laughed. In that laughter, only his head remained, and suddenly he emitted the strongest black light ever seen. In the blink of an eye, as this beam of light appeared, it shot straight towards the eternal immortal realm. In the blink of an eye, approaching the eternal immortal realm, a massive vortex naturally formed. Within this vortex, a thunderous roar erupted, engulfing the entire eternal immortal realm. The beings inside cried out in astonishment. Under the pursuit of the mysterious power, the Destroyer Saint knew he couldn't possibly shatter the eternal immortal realm. That was pointless. With their divine abilities, while they couldn't revive those of the same realm, reviving the beings within the eternal immortal realm wasn't impossible. Therefore, his goal wasn't to kill, but rather, with my boundless life force as the price, with my 3 great realm treasures and vast Dao realm as the price, open the long river of time and space. The Destroyer Saint's voice suddenly rang out, the starry sky exploding. In an instant, he transformed into a vortex and immediately began to spin. The speed of this spin increased rapidly. Vaguely visible, within this vortex, is what appears to be a compass, and 2 beads, 1 black and 1 white. These 3 items radiated an ancient aura, and in the blink of an eye, their appearance caused the vortex to surge violently. My 3 great treasures, though eternally sealed and unusable, are still sufficient as a maxim to open the long river of time and space within the vortex. The voice of the exterminating saint echoed. His voice was drawn out, reverberating through the starry sky. Simultaneously, the vortex seemed to open up an unimaginable world. At this moment, the starry sky trembled, all the ruins shaking. The entire starry sky became chaotic. It could be seen that, beneath the eternal immortal realm, deep within this vortex, a great river finally appeared. The river water surged. An immense, unstoppable gravitational force instantly sucked the eternal immortal realm into the vortex. Within this great river, a mystical aura emanated, an eternal energy permeated, along with countless primordial energies encompassing time itself, incredibly sacred, shaking the starry sky. Seemingly unique. It was in this instant that Bai Xiaochun, in the netherworld, sensed something, and in his weakened state, suddenly opened his eyes. He saw this scene, and in that split second, a deafening explosion, unlike anything he had ever experienced in his life, surged through his mind. No, Bai Xiaochun struggled and roared, his veins bulging. His body trembled. He was consumed by a frenzy, wanting to stop it. But he was too weak. He couldn't even stand up, let alone stop it. Luotia, this is a gift I'm giving you. You don't need to think about reviving them, sealed within the vast river of time and space, in this heaven and earth. Within the 9 great Dao domains, I have never heard of any world where anyone could break free from within the vast river of time and space. The laughter of the Saint Flea carried sorrow, until it faded away, fading away where the vast, sacred river, and the eternal immortal realm. Everything fell silent. As the long river of time disappeared, as the Saint Flea died, as everything ended, the entire starry sky fell silent. In the 108,000 ruined and frozen areas, everything vanished in an instant. Light, in this fleeting moment, enveloped everything. However, in the place where the eternal immortal realm once existed, Bai Xiaochun stared in astonishment in the direction where the long river had disappeared. He seemed dazed, as if he had become a soulless living corpse, staring blankly for a long, long time. Until after spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood, Bai Xiaochun fainted, only his lips still unconsciously trembling. Gradually, he became motionless, like a corpse, within the starry sky. He didn't reach the end. The entire starry sky, although 1,008,000 ruins flickered with light, left him alone, unconscious, and directionless. Time passed. He didn't know how long, but in this silent starry sky, Bai Xiaochun awoke. He didn't open his eyes. In that instant of awakening, he seemed to hear familiar voices beside him calling his father. "Father, you've finally woken up. Look, I've grown up. Father, Zhaoxio's cultivation has broken through. I've reached the heavenly venerate level. Father, I'm planning to get married." Those were the voices of his 3 children. Hearing these voices, a smile appeared on Bai Xiaochun's lips. He seemed to hear a warm voice calling his name. He could distinguish them: Zhang Zhengwen, Zhou Zimai, Hou Xiaomei, and Gongsun Waner. There was even a woman's voice, familiar yet strangely unfamiliar. "Xiaochun, I am Du Lingfei." Many voices. Bai Xiaochun also felt countless warm gazes, seemingly smiling at him. In those eyes, he could clearly recognize Uncle Li, the Grand Heavenly Master, the giant ghost king, Zhang Daopan transformed into a little chubby boy, Song Qiu, the divine calculator, and so on. All of this filled him with contentment. He seemed to feel the sunlight shining on him, the scent of grass, and the joy of all living beings. Bai Xiaochun slowly closed his eyes, drifting in the starry sky. Tears streamed down his cheeks. He didn't want to open them, but eventually, slowly, he opened his eyes. As his eyes slowly opened, all voices vanished. Before him, there was only the starry sky. In his ears, there was only silence. After a long while, Bai Xiaochun slowly stood up, gazing into the distance in astonishment, remaining silent for a long time. He walked alone, step by step, across the starry sky towards the place where the eternal immortal realm once existed. Looking at the vanished area of the eternal immortal realm, Bai Xiaochun wept. Defeating an Ifan, yet losing everything, Bai Xiaochun's tears fell into the starry sky. He raised his hand to grasp something, but couldn't grasp anything. He tried to take the wine from his storage bag, but his hands were empty. He could only sit silently in this part of the starry sky, silently lost in thought, silently reminiscing. Until one day, he suddenly looked up. His eyes were bloodshot, a look of madness appearing in them. As he performed a hand seal, he finally unleashed the Zhuan ancient scroll, recalling time, and his figure vanished. But very quickly, Bai Xiaochun emerged in agony. Even if he recalled time, even within this mirror image, he could no longer find the eternal immortal realm. It seemed that after sinking into the long river of time and space, even traces of existence from the years had been erased. The long river of time and space, Bai Xiaochun said hoarsely. His voice was low, seemingly containing endless sorrow within him. Yet, he had no way to express it. Tears were not enough to wash away this grief, causing the sorrow within him to deepen and change its tone. Being sealed inside the long river of time and space, it's not death. If the Saint Sleiya could open it, I can too. Bai Xiaochun's breathing slowly grew heavier. After raising his head, he immediately unleashed his cultivation. He tried countless methods, experimenting for a long time, even attempting to manipulate the mystical essence of the eternal origin, only to find that as the eternal flower disappeared, the mystical essence of the eternal origin also dimmed, as if vanishing, as if life itself was the source of the eternal origin's existence. Without the eternal flower, the starry sky, though bright, held no other life except for Bai Xiaochun. The eternal origin had silently vanished. But Bai Xiaochun didn't give up. He tried again until after countless exhausting attempts, he still couldn't open the long river of time and space. He didn't even know how to open it. In his bitterness, Bai Xiaochun didn't despair. He closed his eyes. When he opened them again, his eyes revealed unwavering determination. The Lord Realm can't open it, so if I can become an eternal realm cultivator, I definitely can, Bai Xiaochun whispered softly. He knew that achieving the eternal realm wasn't simply a matter of merging with the eternal flower. Having fought against Eniphen and grasped the preliminary profound meaning of the eternal origin, he could sense that there must be other ways to achieve eternity. Benuyan bin Aching, TNTY Trong Vien Vieti, TNTY bin Trong Biekti KMTHEO Benuyan. Hien TMCC DBMGM Kang the CM Non, Nang. Niu VNTIC Thick Teen, Tin Kang Lay Zoot Hien Sin Mayang Kung TIC Cone, MT Lay Niatiu HEO. Theo Sin Mayang Zoot Hien, Theo TUSS Zoot Hien. Benuyan bin Aching, Kon Ko the Lay Hien Ra. Niu Na Kon Cha Ko Zoot Hien, Navi. Tao Lay Tigi Robin Aching. Theo Cheng Sin Thick Teen, Theo Sin Mayang Zoot Hien, Kan Gian PGGZ VN Vieti Benuyan, Nina Hai Ra MTHEO Benuyan Kang G, Tale Hai Ram VHEO, Turim HEO, Egan HEO VN HEO. Chohin Keton BN Tin Kang Nay, Benuyan CAMT Turam LS Tam VN HEO the GGTIC Kun, Hai Ra TTC. Dung Hup TTC Benuyan CA Tin Kang, Ang T. Vin Aching. In Bai Xiaochun's eyes, a look of madness appeared. This was the only method he could think of at this moment. Eternal immortal realm, my homeland. Wait for me a little longer, I promise you. With a mad look in his eyes, Bai Xiaochun turned his head, looking at the area where the eternal immortal realm had disappeared, and whispered. But he was persistent, his words sounding like a vow. There is a kind of power in this world that, in one person, is immeasurably vast. But in another, it is limited. In one person, it can be powerful enough to shake heaven and earth, while in another, it is weak and easily extinguished by a gust of wind. It can grant eternal life, or it can vanish completely in an instant. This power is obsession. To pull the eternal immortal realm out from within the long river of time and spaces is Bai Xiaochun's obsession. This obsession was powerful, heavy, transforming into unwavering determination. As if it were the very thing that sustained Bai Xiaochun's solitude, supporting his entire life. There is no eternity, yet I will create eternity. There is no origin, yet I will create origin. There is no life, yet I will create life. Bai Xiaochun raised his head, gazing at the vanished eternal immortal realm, his eyes slowly becoming profound. After a long while, Bai Xiaochun closed his eyes, concealing the depth within, and sat cross-legged in the starry sky where the eternal immortal realm had disappeared. Back then, he hadn't considered why the Tongshan world, clearly within the body of the ancestor, still had sunlight. He also hadn't thought about why the starry sky was dark, yet the eternal immortal realm had rising and setting suns. Even after becoming an ancient being, he seemed unaware of this issue. Even as a lord, he had the right to expose all of this. But his battle with Eniphen left him no time to think and investigate. Now, in the starry sky, Bai Xiaochun had the answer in his heart. Whether it was the Tongshan world or the eternal immortal realm, all the suns and moons within this eternal flower were conjured up by the eternal mother. Because life needs sunlight, Bai Xiaochun murmured softly. When his eyes opened, his left eye emitted a powerful light, gradually transforming into a dazzling sun. The light from this left eye, originating from the very eye of the sun in the ancestor transformation, was cultivated by Bai Xiaochun back then. Now Bai Xiaochun, in the Lord realm, unleashed this boundless power. In an instant, as this light spread, it diffused throughout the entire starry sky, filling 180,000 realms. Finally, after converging in each place, it formed enormous halos of light, until they condensed and became suns. 180,000 suns. At the same time, they were all Bai Xiaochun's left eyes. The appearance of the suns instantly transformed the starry sky. These 180,000 ruins also seemed to tremble at this moment. Without end in this instant, Bai Xiaochun's right eye also emitted light. This light was gentle. It was the eye of moonlight. 180,000 realms with suns. How could there not be moons? At this very moment, 180,000 moons have all condensed, from now on replacing the sun and moon. In this vast starry sky, there is night and day, sunlight and moonlight. The sun and moon of the eternal immortal realm were created from nothingness by the eternal mother. The present starry sky has sun and moon. They are not illusions, they are real existences, the two eyes of Bai Xiaochun. There are sun and moon, there is black and white, and there is also a seed of life. In Bai Xiaochun's murmur, his body slowly became motionless, yet it was filled with life, transforming into a seed that gently spread from within him, guiding and burying itself deep within this 108,000 realms of the starry sky. Bai Xiaochun remained cross-legged in the same spot. He seemed as if he would never rise again, forever guarding his vanished homeland. But his gaze felt the starry sky. His figure was also within this starry sky, capable of transforming anywhere. Time passed slowly, year after year, replacing the sun and moon in the myriad realms of the universe. These ruined places gradually showed signs of revival, vaguely revealing vitality. The seeds sown by Bai Xiaochun also slowly fused and nourished all the worlds. Until after 100,000 years, the seas changed, the suns and moons shifted. The battle of that year had long since passed, becoming a part of nothingness in this river of history without witnesses. It seemed even Bai Xiaochun himself had become an unknown, forgotten past. 108,000 eternally ruined spiritual realms all underwent transformations. In the sun and moon, under the rain and wind, nourished by Bai Xiaochun's life force, all these ruined structures turned to dust, disappearing with the passage of time. Until one day, in a world once in ruins, the first living beings appeared. In this vast universe, to be precise, these beings were so small that they were invisible to the naked eye. Even divine consciousness needed to carefully observe them to detect their existence. They were an unconscious, extremely fragile, yet incredibly abundant life form. It seemed their appearance was due to the sunlight. Gradually, not just one such world, but 108,000 worlds, one after another, these tiny life forms appeared. They seemed to have no fixed form, and it was difficult to describe their appearance. One could only sense their birth and existence. Even in the area where the eternal immortal realm disappeared, where Bai Xiaochun sat cross-legged in meditation, these tiny life forms appeared. Their birth seemed to cause an extraordinary change in this tranquil starry sky. Though still quiet, their vitality became even more abundant and intense. The sun and moon, formed from Bai Xiaochun's eyes, silently observed these tiny creatures, watching them over the next 100,000 years change the world. Change this 108,000 ruins. Or perhaps, it shouldn't be called ruins anymore. Now, these 108,000 worlds are like a newly born universe, completely devoid of the remnants of the past ruins. Many worlds, after countless years of rain and wind, have even developed seas. Many worlds have also seen the emergence of mountains, just turning into mud. Until one day, in this sea, a type of blue algae life form appeared, creating patches upon patches. They silently and imperceptibly spread across the seawater, each world having a different form. Although it was a world without seawater, life of the same kind appeared in this muddy land. Bai Xiaochun's figure, at the moment these life forms appeared, descended into the sea of one of these worlds. He bowed his head, silently gazing at the seawater. Raising his right hand, he scooped up some blue algae from the seawater. His eyes closed. Quick, just a little faster. After a long while, Bai Xiaochun's figure disappeared. The blue algae in his hand floated down, once again merging into the vast ocean. In the following months and years, these blue algae, along with their kind of life forms, transformed the sea, the land, and ultimately the world, making these 108,000 worlds even more vibrant with life. In some worlds, the sky was a deep blue, the sunlight bright, and countless pure white clouds could be seen, captivating the senses. There were worlds where thunder roared and dark clouds filled the air, unusually majestic and terrifying, yet perfectly suited to the world and its pure life force. There were also worlds, though a dry, cracked expanse, scorching hot, yet within them, signs of life shone brightly. 108,000 worlds. Not every world was inhabited by humans. These were countless races, countless rules, countless origins evolving and giving rise to life forms governed by their respective laws. Bai Xiaochun's gaze swept across each of these worlds. His figure descended upon each one, observing them. After another 100,000 years, within each world, life forms appeared, some with shells, some without, their shapes strangely bizarre, some highly aggressive, others incredibly gentle. And many, upon impact, would vanish, but their appearance caused this vast starry sky, from its initial monotony, to suddenly acquire a touch of color. After their appearance, gradually, after countless years, within one of those worlds, on the ground, finally appeared a plant. A tree. This was a plant that resembled small grass, but was different from ordinary trees. It was very small, only the size of a fingernail. Looking closely, one could even see within its body what seemed like a tiny tube, like a strand of hair. Bai Xiaochun's figure appeared beside this plant. He crouched down, looking at the weak yet sturdy tree before him, feeling the life radiating from it, and for the first time, a smile appeared on his face. Truly fast. Time passed once again. The appearance of plants seemed to have torn a divide in the ages. Gradually, the world, everywhere, was filled with different colors and shapes, each governed by different laws. Thus, countless trees, seemingly similar in nature, formed. These trees spread and multiplied, occupying the seas, the land, the hills, everything. For the next 100,000 years, under the sunlight, they formed fragile life forms, along with blue-green algae and soft-bodied life forms, becoming the masters of one of the myriad worlds of the starry sky. Until one day, fish appeared in the sea. On the shore, life forms appeared that could both survive in water and exist on land. Bai Xiaochun's gaze was fixed. He saw creatures resembling toads, with their unusual forms appearing one after another in every world, until he saw animals on the grassland, their silhouettes resembling lizards, causing Bai Xiaochun's eyes to turn into suns, radiating even brighter light. It seemed that at this moment, all the worlds within the starry sky, the souls of all life forms, were echoing a single sound. Quickly again. The moment this voice rang out, all the plants relaxed. All the animals raised their heads, looking suspiciously towards the sky. All the fish paused for a moment. Although this unusual phenomenon quickly dissipated, it seemed that such a scene, in the imprint of all living beings, had caused them to become bewildered, thus instinctively leaving a mark. Instinctively, they hunted and devoured each other, and this imprint seemed to be passed on. Time passed in a cycle, moving once more. Perhaps 100,000 years, perhaps 1,000,000 years, perhaps even longer. In the myriad worlds of the starry sky, after many animals appeared, finally birds capable of flying in the sky were born. Each of these birds, with different forms, spread their wings and soared in each world. The appearance of birds seemed to usher in a new era. Within the 108,000 realms of the starry sky, more and more animals gradually appeared. These animals, seemingly because they reproduced through viviparous reproduction, were more agile and intelligent. Their appearance caused the entire starry sky to awaken. In the endless years that followed, countless species of creatures evolved within the myriad realms of the starry sky. They each fought for survival, each vying for the inheritance of life. In every corner of this world, under the cleansing and elimination of time, the figure of Bai Xiaochun always watched. One day, he saw a creature resembling a monkey learning to pick up stones to fight. To make it easier to hold the stones, they gradually stopped using their hands and feet to run, and instead they hobbled and stood up. At that moment, the light in Bai Xiaochun's eyes was stronger than ever. Under his watchful gaze, this group of life forms learned to run fast on their two legs. They lived together, they hunted, and they were terrified at the sight of lightning in the sky. They were especially frightened when lightning struck a large tree, burning it. But after learning to use simple weapons, in the following months, they became the rulers of this world. Similar life forms existed in every world. Gradually, in the following months, Bai Xiaochun saw that within these 108 worlds, there were places where creatures similar to monkeys evolved. In some places, birds evolved. In some places, life forms formed from rocks evolved. And there were even life forms seemingly condensed from the air. Countless types, countless races, in each of these worlds, under each rule, slowly displayed their talents. During this process, Bai Xiaochun wasn't just observing. Although he didn't lead the tribes in using weapons, he guided them in burning branches and using them as kindling. He led the bird tribes in learning to utilize the power of the wind. He led the rock creatures in developing a sense of construction. His presence was felt throughout the evolution and development of each tribe, guiding them in simple ways, guiding their wisdom. What is wisdom? In the darkness of night, Bai Xiaochun stood on a mountain, looking down at the valley below, where a massive fire blazed. Around him, people cheered incessantly. They wore simple animal skins, their voices filled with wildness. But the joy in their gazes at the fire plunged Bai Xiaochun into deep thought. After a long while, Bai Xiaochun suddenly raised his hand and pointed towards the bonfire. Instantly, the fire raged violently, the intense burning sound causing the people around to cry out in fear and astonishment. They all retreated, trembling as if wanting to distance themselves from the place. But at that moment, one of the wild men pointed at the fire, his voice urgent and filled with disbelief. His voice drew the attention of the other wild men. They all stopped what they were doing and looked back. They saw that, beneath the raging flames, a figure had suddenly appeared. They didn't recognize the figure, but it was clad in a long robe, had long hair, and was incredibly tall, standing in the fire, seemingly gazing into the distance. This was the figure of Bai Xiaochun. At this moment, Bai Xiaochun's gaze was fixed on these savages. He wanted to know what these primitive humans would do when they saw the figure in the flames. Very quickly, the savages around the fire cried out in astonishment. The first to notice the unusual nature of the fire suddenly knelt down towards the burning flames, prostrating himself on the ground, as if abandoning all resistance. His eyes filled with fanatical adoration. Soon, following his example, all the savages around followed suit. Under their fervent devotion, Bai Xiaochun began to understand. The figure within the flames gradually faded until it disappeared. But in the instant it vanished, the light of the flames illuminated the entire sky. This immense feeling caused all the wild beasts in the mountains to tremble with fear. Over time, Bai Xiaochun observed this tribe of savages. Their gazes towards the fire were filled with awe and fear. Even after each hunt, they would carefully place some of their most precious food into the fire, watching it burn to ashes. Afterward, the fervor in their eyes would intensify, and they would once again prostrate themselves around the fire, as if worshipping. He suddenly understood the awakening of intelligence is imagination. Imagining a stone can become a weapon. Imagining fire can dispel darkness. Imagining things that don't exist. Imagining the existence of gods, worshipping them, even creating totems. Because of imagination, there is action. And all of this, when combined, is the birth of intelligence. A strange light flickered in Bai Xiaochun's eyes. He gazed at this race for a long time, his eyes closed. When he opened them again, he was in another world. There, he opened the path of imagination, leading countless races. Time passed. Under Bai Xiaochun's guidance and enlightenment, after the races in the 108,000 worlds opened their imaginations and believed in the existence of unimaginable forces in this world, and knowingly, Bai Xiaochun became the god of countless races. In the process of the development of these countless races, it could even be said that from the very process of their life essence being born, this imprint was etched into their souls generation after generation, making Bai Xiaochun's presence omnipresent. Almost every race has a statue of him, worshipping him. Some consider him the sun, some the creator god, some an angel. Among these countless races, he has countless names. Some call him the sun, some the omnipotent. Some call him the father god, the rock ancestor, the wine spirit, etc. At the same time, according to the races of each world, under these years, they continuously developed and grew stronger. And after truly becoming the sole dominant life form of each world, civilization emerged. Each civilized world, due to different rules, some built fortresses and formed nations, some formed clans, and some existed alone. Some occupied the sky and encompassed the earth, while others survived underground, etc. Countless civilizations of all kinds continuously flourished within this starry sky. But regardless of whether they were indigenous people or civilized beings, they all shared the same instinct. After developing to this level, they instinctively wanted to approach the gods, thereby acquiring mysterious power and aspiring to an existence akin to becoming gods themselves. After pondering all of this, Bai Xiaochun's figure descended once again, performing a final act of guidance and enlightenment for all the myriad worlds in the starry sky. He transformed his cultivation philosophy into seeds, scattering them throughout the entire starry sky. Gradually, over many years, in various worlds and ethnic groups, individuals possessing sufficient mysterious power began to appear. At this moment, the new generation of cultivators in the eternal spirit realm was born. After this final act of guidance, Bai Xiaochun no longer paid attention to the countless ethnic groups in the myriad worlds. He remained seated cross-legged in the place where the eternal immortal realm had disappeared. Over countless years, and through Bai Xiaochun's unintentional actions, this place gradually formed a continent. Sitting here, Bai Xiaochun slowly closed his eyes. His body remained motionless for the long years, as if transformed into a statue. In the unprecedented origin and rise of life, Bai Xiaochun could not sense the profound meaning of the eternal origin. It seemed that as the eternal flower sank into the long river of time and space, the eternal origin, dim and untraceable, could no longer be found, or perhaps it had vanished. After creating life comes comprehending the origin. Bai Xiaochun murmured softly to himself. His divine consciousness instantly spread, merging with the entire starry sky. From the 108,000 realms here, from the countless lives that rose and formed the rules of this place, he began his enlightenment. Back then, he took the path of illuminating the entire starry sky as his way, achieving the status of a supreme ruler. At this moment, he had accomplished this goal, not only opening up the light of the starry sky, but also giving life to the starry sky once again. But Bai Xiaochun paid no attention to his cultivation. His mind was focused on only one direction, comprehending all the fundamental principles of the myriad worlds of the starry sky, condensing and merging them together, and creating eternity for himself. You wait for me a little longer, very soon, Bai Xiaochun murmured to himself, his divine consciousness spreading out, his mind immersed in the comprehension. His consciousness gradually becoming a part of the starry sky. Time passed once more. This time it wasn't 100,000 years, 1,000,000 years, but even longer. So long that it was difficult to calculate, so long that in these 108,000 worlds of the starry sky, Bai Xiaochun had become history. Only ancient texts containing a few records of him. Simultaneously, as each new life appeared, they no longer believed in ancient legends. What they believed in was the power they cultivated themselves. Back then, Bai Xiaochun only laid the seed. Now, throughout the entire starry sky, the cultivation world of countless races has, over the years, refined the old and created new, inventing countless cultivation techniques, divine abilities, and methods. The cultivation world flourished, wars broke out. All of this was driving the development of the cultivation world. Until, after countless years, after countless exceptionally talented individuals spent their entire lives experimenting, after summarizing all the wrong paths, on this day, a cultivator, stepping on the shoulders of those who came before, leapt up and became the first heavenly venerate in all 108,000 races in the starry sky. After his ascension, in accordance with the will of the world he supported, he reached the pinnacle, initiating a great feat unprecedented in the cultivation world of his generation. He strived to break through the confines of his clan's world, aiming to enter the starry sky, but despite exhausting all his strength, he ultimately failed. Gradually, in every world, within every clan, powerful heavenly venerates continuously ascended to higher levels. The entire cultivation world in the starry sky thus entered the era of heavenly venerables. Almost all heavenly venerable powerhouses, throughout their lives, dreamed of stepping out of their own world and into the starry sky they could see but could not reach. They believed that the method to break through to heavenly venerable lay within the starry sky. However, no heavenly venerable had succeeded. The most astonishing and unparalleled one only reached the edge of the heavens, just half a step into the starry sky. Until many years later, after various races had produced several, even more, heavenly venerables, finally, the first ancient one appeared. He was an old man. The moment his cultivation broke through, his laughter echoed throughout the world. Countless cultivators in his world were shaken and ecstatic. This old man soared into the air, standing high above, his eyes filled with excitement. I, Simonon, have finally broken through. This realm is the legendary, ancient era. The old man laughed loudly, his body shaking slightly as he directly ascended to the edge of the heavens. Looking at the starry sky, he became even more exhilarated, taking another step, and directly stepping into the starry sky. Starry sky, starry sky. The old man stood in the starry sky, his entire being exhilarated to the extreme. Especially in his eyes, ambition was revealed. He hurried to explore this starry sky. He wanted to search for other worlds within it besides their own. And so, as he departed, following his shadow, in the years to come, he would appear in every other world, the cultivation world welcoming the starry sky era. As the first ancient era being, Simonon had spent over 1,000 years in this starry sky. He traversed 10 worlds, directly enslaving them with his formidable cultivation, but he couldn't take them with him, nor could he force his fellow tribesmen to descend. Therefore, after plundering the abundant resources of these 10 world tribes, he departed, beginning a new journey. After traversing 10 worlds, Simonon's mind calmed down. But behind this calmness lay an intense, peak-level confidence. He believed that in this starry sky, he had reached the absolute pinnacle. Unless a second primordial being appeared, he was the strongest in this vast expanse of space. Invincible. Sometimes it's truly lonely. Simonon sighed, sitting cross-legged on the body of a giant bone sword, moving forward in the starry sky, searching for the next world. Suddenly, he tilted his head, looking towards a distant direction in the starry sky. That place seems to be summoning something. Simonon frowned. This was the first time he had felt something like this in the starry sky. After a moment of silence, his confidence in his cultivation made him let out a cold laugh. Finally, he changed direction, rushing straight towards the direction from which the summoning seemed to be coming. Let's see what it is, daring to summon me. Simonon raised his head, his expression filled with arrogance and coldness. As he moved forward, time passed. After a full cycle of 60 years, Simonon hesitated. He discovered that the source of the summons was surprisingly far away. What exactly is it? Simonon frowned. He now sensed something was amiss. To be precise, it wasn't a place calling him, but rather a deep-seated attraction within his soul, seemingly urging him closer. After pondering for a while, Simonon still trusted his cultivation, so without hesitation, he unleashed his highest speed and rushed forward. Because he wasn't too far from the source of the summons, after another cycle of 60 years, on this day, Simonon finally saw a continent in the distant starry sky. This strange place is a fragment of a world. Simonon's eyes flashed, and he sneered. For 2 cycles of 60 years, the constant yearning and urging within his soul had greatly troubled him. At this moment, he spread out his consciousness. After observing, he determined there was no danger here. Therefore, with a slight shake, he directly descended onto this continent. Upon entering, Simonon was immediately astonished. He couldn't sense any life here. The surroundings were desolate. But after entering this continent, the yearning within his soul intensified. This made Simonon hesitate. Having spent 2 cycles of 60 years traveling here, how could he leave without even glancing around? After a moment of silence, a cold glint appeared in Simonon's eyes. With a slight shake, he followed the yearning in his soul, plunging deep into this continent. After a while, he saw a mountain appear in the distance. To be precise, this was the only mountain on this continent. He even saw that on that mountain, finally, there was a statue sitting cross-legged in meditation. Upon seeing that statue, Simonon's entire body trembled violently, his breathing becoming rapid. A deafening explosion echoed in his head. That statue, that statue. Simonon's soul trembled, like a child seeing his father, and he couldn't control himself, directly kneeling before the statue. A great wave surged through him. He recognized this statue. Within his clan, and even within the other 10 clans, he had noticed it. It was part of a legend from countless years ago, a legend now known to few, and even those who knew considered it mere mythology. Even he had once thought so. It wasn't until he saw descriptions of this deity in all 10 worlds that he sensed something was amiss. But it had been too long, so he just kept it to himself. Now, seeing the statue, all his memories resurfaced, especially the vibrations emanating from his soul, which instantly made him understand. The legend was true. This statue before him was not carved and placed here by any particular clan. Simonon's cultivation and soul sensed a truth. That statue was still alive. His cultivation, in comparison to that statue, was utterly insignificant. He even instinctively felt that with just a single thought from the other party, let alone himself, his clan, or even the entire starry sky, could be instantly wiped out. Because the other party was, in the legends of him and these 10 worlds, the primordial being of all things, the sun god, the ancestor of all clans from the ancient times. I see a god. Simonon trembled, kneeling there, like his ancestor, prostrating himself on the ground, motionless. Simonon did not return. After seeing the statue of Bai Xiaochun, it was as if he had seen a god. He chose to protect this place. He even regarded it as the only sacred place in the entire starry sky. He even discovered that cultivating here seemed more miraculous than anywhere else. Especially since time here seemed to pass differently from the outside world, Simonon became even more excited, looking at the statue of Bai Xiaochun again and worshipping it once more. In the following years, he stayed in this place, worshipping and protecting Bai Xiaochun. At the same time, his whole body calmed down. However, even though he calmed down, every time he looked at the statue of Bai Xiaochun, his eyes were still filled with intense fanaticism. And so, time slowly passed. Gradually, in the 108,000 realms of the starry sky, the second, third, fourth, ancient beings appeared. The era of the starry sky arrived, causing each race to gradually produce ancient beings. Although not every ancient being chose to travel through the starry sky, many powerful ancient beings still roamed the cosmos. While they couldn't achieve what Simonon did, sweeping across every world without a second ancient being, these powerful ancient beings continued to appear, eagerly yearning to enter the starry sky and see worlds they had never seen before. Therefore, besides Simonon, a second ancient being appeared who felt the yearning from his soul. His appearance was different from Simonon's. His entire body looked like a massive block of rock. After arriving here and seeing the statue of Bai Xiaochun, he trembled, seemingly shaken and worshipping. Gradually, the third, the fourth. By the time the ancient powerhouses discovered Bai Xiaochun's whereabouts, the number had exceeded 20. The ancient myths related to him also spread throughout the entire starry sky as people departed from Bai Xiaochun's location. Slowly, more and more worlds learned of Bai Xiaochun's existence. More and more cultivators began to consult ancient texts, searching for descriptions in history. More and more worlds began to discover through their interactions that the other party's presence was not limited to their own worlds. When they realized that countless worlds in this starry sky were ultimately spreading the same legend, the shock in the hearts of every cultivator could not be contained any further. Sun God, Moon Immortal, Creator, Wine Spirit, Rock Ancestor, Omnipotent. Each of these titles, recorded in different genealogical histories, resurfaced, causing a storm-like upheaval that swept across countless races throughout the entire starry sky. Gods truly exist. He created the world. He created life. And he opened the cultivation world. Each scene, like a mythical legend, became reality, shaking the cultivation world and causing more and more ancient powerhouses to flock to the continent, feeling the light emanating from the statue of Bai Xiaochun, sensing its sacredness, and even considering their presence there a great honor. At the same time, another name emerged for Bai Xiaochun, the origin of the starry sky. This series of overlapping legends and myths, like a storm, never faded in the years that followed. According to Simonon, returning to the ancient land, following the ancient beings who had spontaneously protected Bai Xiaochun, a new generation of ancient beings arrived, seeking the imprints in their souls and lives, instinctively wanting to get closer to the deity and protect Bai Xiaochun. But beings have different personalities and different thoughts. Within these 1808 million realms, there are still many powerful individuals who, although acknowledging Bai Xiaochun's existence, do not feel fear or reverence. Some want to replace that with a firm belief, slaughter gods, and become immortal gods. This saying is the obsession in their hearts. Carrying such obsession, many years later, when the ancient era reached its limit, finally, the first Lord appeared in the starry sky. The Lord who appeared was completely different from the ancient beings. His appearance directly shook the cosmic order, causing all races throughout the universe to begin choosing between submission or deadly war. After conquering over 10,000 world races, the power under this Lord's command could be called boundless. At this moment, he made a choice. He went to the center of the starry sky, the legendary sacred continent, and stood at the foot of the mountain where Bai Xiaochun's statue stood. He wanted to challenge Bai Xiaochun. This challenge shook countless races throughout the entire starry sky. However, before they could witness the battle firsthand, it was all over. From within the jade slips of the powerful cultivators protecting Bai Xiaochun on the sacred continent, images of this challenge were seen by more and more cultivators. Anyone who saw it would have their mind explode, fall silent for a long time, then stand up and bow deeply towards the sacred continent. In the image in the jade slip, the Lord's body flew out, transforming into a rainbow shooting star, his primordial power erupting, his aura enough to shake the starry sky. But in the blink of an eye, as he approached Bai Xiaochun, who had been transformed into a statue, remained motionless, while the body of that lord ultimately disintegrated. as if erased, silently vanishing without a sound. No one knew what kind of power this was. All those who witnessed it could only call it the power of a god. No one dared challenge the gods. Then many years passed, and as the era of the supreme rulers rose, and rumors of the gods overthrowing the supreme rulers became mere hearsay, gradually, a supreme ruler emerged, one after another. Within each race, under the approval of the world's will, it was at this time, among these many supreme rulers, that one was born. The supreme ruler. His path was different from the others, like a devouring force, like a black hole, pushing himself to the limit. He became the second cultivator to challenge the gods. He wanted to devour the gods, to achieve godhood himself. His arrival terrified all the guardians of the entire divine continent, yet they were powerless to stop him, only able to watch as the strongest ruler of the current era, with his hands clasped behind his back, walked step by step towards the mountain. God, I believe you exist, but what I believe even more is that you are merely an old geezer from the cosmic era, surviving until now. Why bother living here? Why not fulfill my wish? The Lord spoke indifferently, raising his foot at the foot of the mountain, intending to ascend. But at that moment, his entire body suddenly trembled violently, his breathing becoming rapid. He recoiled. But before he could retreat, amidst the stun guard surrounding him, his body, everything about him, silently vanished without a sound. The surroundings fell silent. This scene was identical to the legendary outcome of the First Lord's challenge. And at the moment when the minds of all the guards around him were shaken, their minds blank, suddenly, the statue on the mountain, its eyes closed, slowly opened. After it opened, all the suns within the starry sky emitted the brightest light ever seen. All the moons shone with the same boundless brilliance. All beings in the 108 million worlds trembled, their minds filled with a tempestuous storm. A voice, gentle yet tinged with sorrow, echoed in their ears. It was my oversight with a single thought. The heavenly tribulation appears. In the instant this voice resounded, the very essence and laws contained within the starry sky, though not altered in form, seemed to merge with some kind of concept, causing every world, even the entire starry sky, from this moment on to manifest a rule. That was the rule of the heavenly tribulation. From now on, the world would have heavenly tribulations. These challengers, challenging the heavenly tribulation, were essentially challenging Bai Xiaochun. Bai Xiaochun didn't stop the challenge, but he wanted to quietly contemplate and create his own heavenly tribulation. The moment this voice appeared, all the guardians of the divine continent vanished, their figures disappearing into their own individual worlds. At this very moment, all living beings, even those in all ancient texts, descriptions, and memories related to Bai Xiaochun were erased. It was as if Bai Xiaochun had never existed in the history of any race. And the place where the divine continent resided also became obscure, gradually disappearing from the sight and discovery of cultivators. From then on, the races in the starry sky continued to develop. Challengers still existed, but rumors about Bai Xiaochun, myths about the origin of the starry sky, were no longer remembered or known. Everything was erased. Time passed, little by little. Everything about Bai Xiaochun vanished into the myriad races of this new generation of the starry sky. In a place where no one could see him, where the eternal immortal realm had once disappeared, Bai Xiaochun slowly closed his eyes, silently comprehending all the fundamental principles within the starry sky, day after day, year after year, until one day Bai Xiaochun opened his eyes. Since the year his eyes closed, this was the second time he had opened them. The first time was to cause a heavenly tribulation to appear in the starry sky. This time, it was because he had understood everything. Witnessing the origin of life, the creation of the sun, moon, and all living beings, seeing the darkness and light in the starry sky with his own eyes, feeling all things become vast again, and having experienced countless millennia of enlightenment, Bai Xiaochun, at this moment, in his open eyes, there was no profoundness, only boundless calmness and purity. Clean as if not a single speck of dust, like a newborn baby, gazing at all the stars. That year, when I fought against N.I.Fin, I wondered what the origin was. This question has troubled me for a long time. Now I understand the origin. Bai Xiaochun softly opened his mouth and said, the origin is formless and invisible, seemingly non-existent, yet simultaneously creates and encompasses all existence and all external appearances. The origin has no beginning and no end, simultaneously creates and encompasses all past and future. Bai Xiaochun's voice was very soft. But in the instant he uttered these words, 108,000 worlds in the starry sky were momentarily shaken. The origin has no space, yet simultaneously creates and encompasses all space. The origin has no time, yet simultaneously creates and encompasses all time. Following these two sentences, all the rules and laws within the starry sky resonated. The primordial essence is without sound or light, yet it creates and encompasses all sound and light. The primordial essence is not anywhere, yet it creates and encompasses all places. Bai Xiaochun smiled, uttering the fifth and sixth insights related to the primordial essence. These two sentences echoed in all directions. All living beings in the starry sky, all universes, were motionless in this instant. In this stillness, Bai Xiaochun uttered the final two sentences. The primordial essence is infinitely small, yet infinitely large. The primordial essence is unique, yet infinite. The starry sky paused, suddenly displaying boundless colors. Each rule and law merged and then dissipated. Finally, everything within the starry sky vanished, leaving only a single point. A point whose length was less than that of a person. This point silently existed in the starry sky. It encompasses all laws, all rules, 108,000 realms. It encompasses everything. Bai Xiaochun looked at the point, smiled, and pointed his hand towards it. The point suddenly transformed, eventually becoming a line. Only the length of the line seemed infinite, forever, without end. Something seems to be missing. Bai Xiaochun thought for a moment, then pointed again. Instantly, the line, which had only been long, suddenly changed in infinite width, infinite length. But time and again, within these two infinities, one could clearly discern the length, the other the width. It was indescribable, inexplicable, existing only in the realm of perception. From afar, it looked like a sheet of paper without height, spread out in the vast expanse of space. Bai Xiaochun gazed intently for a moment, then smiled again. With a wave of his hand, the sheet of paper suddenly gained height, infinite height. At this moment, it could no longer be called paper. It had become an infinitely long, infinitely wide, infinitely high mass. Still not enough. Bai Xiaochun shook his head, then pointed again. Instantly, time merged into this infinite mass, becoming distorted, showing the passage of years, even blurring. It seemed that at that moment, under the passage, everything became illusory, a vortex, like space-time. Inside were all the countless years of the starry sky, encompassing everything, all together, as if stretched out. One could see all life, even all things, from birth to death, from existence to non-existence, and all unprecedented processes. Even after entering, one could enter any short period. This is the spatial temporal world that the previous Saint Flea mentioned, forming a vortex, a long river of time and space. In fact, that's exactly how it appeared. Bai Xiaochun looked at the world formed by time and space and whispered. He raised his right hand and waved it. A yellow leaf appeared in his hand. This leaf was something Bai Xiaochun had discovered when he found the little black turtle in the bloodstream sect. At that time, he didn't understand this leaf. Even when he reached the Lord Realm, he had vaguely perceived it in his enlightenment. Although he had gained some understanding, it was still vague. Until now, he lowered his head and continued to look at the leaf, and everything became clear. Interesting. No wonder I couldn't understand this leaf before. It's like countless different leaf veins overlapping each other, covering each other, and penetrating each other. So it was basically impossible to see clearly. But today, I'll go take a look at it. All the leaves inside, no matter how overlapping, no matter how transparent, every single vein is clear, just like within my consciousness. I can make these countless infinite veins surface. As for the content, a look of curiosity appeared in Bai Xiaochun's eyes. After looking for a while, he smiled. Interesting, the cultivation system of the Weiyang Dao domain is indeed divided into first, second, third, and fourth steps. The fourth step is the final point. Only by cultivating to the fourth step and reaching the ultimate power level can one create and see through this leaf. In that case, this destroying saint relies on the treasure of the Dao domain, ultimately demonstrating the ultimate power of the fourth step. Bai Xiaochun chuckled. At this moment, in his eyes, this leaf held nothing miraculous, The only thing is, it's actually possible to condense this into a key to the Wei-Yang Dao domain. It seems I can do more than just these things. Bai Xiaojun thought for a moment, looking at the spacetime fragment he created. After narrowing his eyes, in an instant, countless spacetimes were reflected before him. These spacetimes, in his eyes, were countless. In each spacetime, there seemed to be the same living beings and things, only their destinies seemed to be completely different. But this action only lasted for a moment, and the spacetime before Bai Xiaojun seemed about to shatter. Even all the spacetime in his eyes seemed about to shatter. Bai Xiaojun's eyes flashed. Everything in his eyes disappeared. Even the starry sky before him, transformed into spacetime, disappeared. Everything returned to normal, spreading out. The living beings were still there. The things were still there. It's not that I can't do it. It's just this piece of starry sky can't withstand such a change. However, according to the Wei-Yang Dao domain, does that mean they can't reach the fifth step? I should go to the Wei-Yang Dao domain sometime to see if their starry sky can withstand it. After making up his mind, Bai Xiaojun no longer paid attention to the yellow leaf, but instead softly asked himself a question. So what is eternity? After muttering this, Bai Xiaojun just shook his head and smiled. How can there be true eternity in this world? Just like the fourth step the Wei-Yang Dao domain mentioned, I'm afraid that in their eyes, that's eternity. If there really is, then perhaps only imagination is eternal. Bai Xiaojun sighed softly. Imagination is both the weakest and the strongest force in all perception. To be precise, it is also a form of mindfulness. Just like before, when we first saw the moonflower releasing its seeds, spreading them in all directions, the reason I felt so moved was because I was born as one of the many thoughts of the ancestor, one of the three children of eternity, formed from the thoughts of Mother Eternity. Bai Xiaojun closed his eyes. In a daze, he seemed to see that over the past years, Mother Eternity had scattered countless seeds like dandelions. Each seed contained her thoughts. She hoped to give birth to a child who would later resolve this violent catastrophe. These thoughts merged together, transforming into three lords. After their deaths, all the merged thoughts spread out again. A trace of them. Within Bai Xiaojun, he sensed his own aura. Bai Xiaojun laughed heartily and stood up. The moment he stood up, everything around him vanished. He took a step forward. As his foot landed, the surrounding starry sky fell silent, and a vortex appeared. This vortex was similar to the spacetime he had created before, constantly expanding and directly piercing through everything. Inside, revealed a vast river, the river of spacetime. Bai Xiaojun's figure, with a laugh, stepped into the river of spacetime. As his figure disappeared, his voice, emanating from within this river of spacetime, echoed through the starry sky through spacetime, lingering for a long time. One thought creates the ocean, one thought transforms into a mulberry field, one thought slays 1,000 demons, one thought kills 10,000 immortals, my single thought is eternal. The river of spacetime was a great river seemingly existing in another dimension. To be precise, the water forming this river was composed of countless images of spacetime, containing the lives of countless people. It seemed that within this great river, one could see short segments of each person's life, from birth to death. After entering, Bai Xiaojun stood on the riverbank. He stood there, as if waiting for something. His expression was calm as he gazed at the distant river. Before long, following the sound of the water, a boat finally appeared in the distance, slowly gliding across the waves. After seeing the boat, Bai Xiaojun's expression remained unchanged, his gaze falling on the boatman rowing the small oar. The boatman, wearing a hat, approached Bai Xiaojun. After slowly stopping, the boatman raised his head, revealing an aged face. When he looked at Bai Xiaojun, a smile appeared on his face. "Fellow Taoist, please come aboard." Bai Xiaojun looked at the old man, gradually smiling, nodded, and stepped onto the boat. After the old man rowed the small oar, the boat slowly moved along the long river of time and space, heading towards the distance. Time passed little by little. After an unknown amount of time, the old boatman remained silent, and Bai Xiaojun also stood silently at the bow of the boat, gazing at the water, observing the lives of countless people. The sound of the boat's bow cutting through the water reached his ears, a sound that seemed to carry different dimensions of time, very special and pleasant to the ear. "We've met before," Bai Xiaojun suddenly said. If even a brief exchange of teachings across time counts as a meeting, then I, the old boatman, have indeed met you before, fellow Taoist, the old boatman said, glancing up at Bai Xiaochun with a smile. Bai Xiaochun's master also smiled. The first time he saw this old man, he knew who he was. This old man was the owner of the flowing sand treasure, the very same Dao Chen and Dao Fan who had changed their names to Ni Fan, the powerful being who had transformed into time. I wonder what brings you here, fellow Taoist, the old boatman asked, paddling his small oar. I'm going to pull out a flower, an eternal flower, Bai Xiaochun said softly, without turning his head, gazing at the river water. Then you'd better choose wisely. The old boatman chuckled, but as soon as his laughter faded, Bai Xiaochun raised his right hand and grabbed something in the air. An aphrodisiac pill appeared in his hand. Upon seeing the aphrodisiac pill, the old boatman's laughter instantly stopped, and he fell silent. He was troubled. In fact, he had appeared calm before, but the moment Bai Xiaochun approached, a storm of emotions had already surged within him. He naturally recognized Bai Xiaochun. This was the long river of time and space. He had transformed into time and knew everything. But time and again, upon seeing Bai Xiaochun, all he could see was the image of him fighting a battle with Ni Fan. As for everything that happened afterward, he couldn't see it at all. This made his heart pound. After carefully observing, his heart felt like it was about to collapse. He couldn't believe it, and at the same time, he was trying to suppress his fear. He vaguely guessed that Bai Xiaochun's cultivation level had reached an indescribable level. In his entire life, he had never imagined that anyone in the world could reach such a level. Like a supreme being, with his current cultivation, he could refine the aphrodisiac pill. Even he, having reached the 4th stage, wouldn't dare to consume it. If it were any other pill, that would be one thing. But the aphrodisiac pill, this kind of medicine seizes the creation of heaven and earth. Its power is immense and unimaginable. He naturally used the aphrodisiac pill to threaten me, refusing to listen to me. I won't say anything more. Why resort to using the pill at the slightest disagreement? The old man muttered to himself, not daring to speak further. His head was heavy with frustration as he paddled gradually through this long river of time and space, arriving at an area overflowing with countless eternal flowers. Within this expansive river water, there were countless eternal flowers. On each eternal flower, there seemed to be traces and images of time, some dim, some vivid. The eternal flowers, with 5 petals and 5 different colors, bloomed in the river water, emitting a fragrant aroma. A halo of light surrounded the center of each flower. One could vaguely see the closed eyes there. Occasionally, one could even see a small turtle lurking on each eternal flower, its movements seemingly greedy, as if it wanted to bite a petal. Among these countless eternal flowers, two stood out the most. Even amidst the myriad of eternal flowers, they were spotted by Bai Xiaochun at a glance. Within the long river of time, which originally followed the trajectory of a living being's life, it was divided into countless short segments. But because the eternal flowers themselves are special, here they seem to have reached the level of a half-step 5th stage, possessing countless possibilities, forming countless eternal flowers. Each flower represents a different destiny. Which one do you choose? The old boatman finally cleared his throat and spoke, simultaneously looking at Bai Xiaochun. I want them all. Bai Xiaochun looked at the eternal flowers and slowly said. The old man instinctively wanted to glare. But thinking of Bai Xiaochun's cultivation and the aphrodisiac pill, he took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. Then, he smiled wryly. I can't stop you, but what's the point? Bai Xiaochun fell silent. He knew that doing so was truly pointless. At this moment, his gaze swept over each of these eternal flowers. It was indeed as the old boatman had said. Within each eternal flower lay a time-space nexus. Sometimes it was when he was at the Lingxi sect. Sometimes it was at the Bloodstream sect. And sometimes it was in the savage wilderness. Many of these events occurred in the eternal immortal realm after the collapse of the Tongshan world. Each flower represented a different turning point, a different destiny. How to choose which flower to pick was up to him. The old boatman didn't urge him. In fact, he didn't dare to. At this moment, after glancing at Bai Xiaochun, he casually sat down to the side and somehow produced a gourd of wine and drank. After a long while, Bai Xiaochun withdrew his gaze and looked at two exceptionally bright and distinct flowers among the countless eternal flowers. These two eternal flowers, one on the left and one on the right, were clearly separated. Bai Xiaochun pondered for a moment, then looked at the eternal flower on the left, his divine consciousness spreading out, as if merging with it. In an instant, another scene flashed through his mind. The image shows the village of Maur Mountain. At this moment, the village elders and relatives are all gathered at the village gate, watching the young man standing there. The young man has bright eyes, simple clothes, fair skin, and a short stature. He looks like a good-looking child. However, his chest is protruding. A few handles of kitchen knives and axes are visible through his clothing, making him look somewhat out of place. Bai Xiaochun silently observes the young man. This image matches his memory. He understands that the turning point of this eternal flower is a return to the beginning, a return to the starting point. Elders and relatives, I want to cultivate immortality, but I will leave you all behind. The young man's face shows reluctance. Zikun, your parents passed away early. You are such a good child. Don't you want immortality? Becoming an immortal allows you to live a very long time. Go, young eagles grow up, and one day they will fly out into the world. Whatever you encounter outside, you must persevere. Once you leave the village, you don't need to come back. Because your path lies ahead, the villagers around him all advised. The village chief even patted the young man's shoulder, his face full of encouragement. The young man seemed to have received much encouragement, his eyes slowly becoming resolute, and finally he nodded heavily. He glanced briefly at the villagers around him, turned around, and walked quickly out of the village. Seeing the young man leave, everyone in the village was moved. Some even trembled and shed tears. Heaven has eyes. This white rat, he finally left. Who told him that an immortal could be seen nearby? You've rendered a great service to the village. Happy New Year! As cheers and drumming filled the air, the young man who had initially left the village gate suddenly rushed back. Upon entering the village, his eyes were resolute, and he cleared his throat. I've made up my mind. I'm not going. I'm serious. I'm not going to become an immortal. All the villagers gaped, staring blankly at the young man. Some even dropped their gongs and drums with a loud crash. Bai Xiaochun watched this scene, a smile involuntarily appearing on his face. The image slowly faded away. Only after his figure was out of sight did Bai Xiaochun turn his gaze to the eternal flower on his left. The starting point. Returning to the starting point is a very good stage, like carrying memories and reliving life again. This way, you don't have to worry about my wicked disciple possessing your body and causing you trouble, and you can fulfill many regrets in your life. The old man on the boat took a sip of wine and looked at Bai Xiaochun. People in this world have too many regrets. Because of their youth, they couldn't know and unintentionally hurt or lost so much. If life could be relived, perhaps it would be even more perfect. Your choice is very good. The old man sighed softly, a look of reminiscence in his eyes, as if even if he had become a part of time, for him, life still held some memories, filled with sighs. Bai Xiaochun said nothing. He stood at the bow of the boat, slowly closing his eyes, seemingly deep in thought, pondering the old man's words. It was as if he were reminiscing about his past life. After a long while, when the old man had finished drinking a gourd of wine, Bai Xiaochun opened his eyes, saying nothing. A profound light shone in his expression, incomprehensible to outsiders. He looked towards the eternal flower on the right, equally enchanting. The moment he gazed at this eternal flower, another image appeared in Bai Xiaochun's mind. This image continuously magnified, eventually occupying his entire consciousness. He clearly saw the world within the image. This time, Bai Xiaochun was not like an outsider, but rather his consciousness had merged, seemingly truly returning to a point in time here. This place was no longer the original starting point. Although the starry sky was dark, countless stars twinkled. These starlight lights were the ones that illuminated the ruined world during the battle between Bai Xiaochun and Nifan all those years ago. This pivotal moment in time was precisely the instant of the Saint Sleia's death. However, this Saint Sleia failed to open the long river of time. Amidst the deafening explosion of the vortex, the mysterious essence of the eternal origin transformed within the starry sky, instantly closing in, left only the head of the Saint Sleia. as if wiped away, directly erased. Only his voice, filled with regret and endless sighs, echoed through the starry sky. Ultimately, it was a failure after being erased. The Saint's Slayer consumed everything, including the treasures of the three great Tao domains that formed the vortex, and gradually stopped. The vague appearance of the long river of time also faded away, slowly disappearing as the vortex ceased to spin. Although the eternal immortal domain was riddled with cracks, appearing almost shattered into pieces, it ultimately remained intact. There, all living beings, along with Song Junwan, Zhou Zumai, and Ho Xiaomei, recovered from this life-or-death crisis. Gradually, the aura of the Eternal Mother spread out. The eternal immortal realm slowly emerged from one side. At this moment, Bai Xiaochun's body, at this critical point, was still the same as it was back then, having almost completely exhausted all his vitality. In his extreme weakness, he smiled, a satisfied smile on his face. His eyes closed, and he fell into the eternal immortal realm. Almost instantly as his body descended, the Eternal Mother condensed a gentle halo enveloping his body, softly lifting him up and placing him into the Kuwang city. Before losing consciousness, he seemed to hear sounds from beside him, the affectionate concern of his relatives, friends, and children, and what seemed to be cheers from the entire eternal immortal realm. There was also a mournful cry from the little black turtle, filled with resentment. Bai Xiaochun, I hate you. All these sounds gradually faded away. Time passed. Many years later, although the starry sky was still only inhabited by the eternal immortal realm, looking up at the night sky, one could see that it was no longer a dark expanse, but a sky full of twinkling stars. Every day, the ruined stars were illuminated, giving them enough time to know that in that place of light and vitality, life would once again appear. The eternal immortal realm was the only place of peaceful and undisturbed life in the starry sky. After the great catastrophe caused by Nifen disappeared, it quickly recovered. At this moment, on the ground, the 5 continents were completely free of cracks. The eternal sea was vast, the land covered with mountains. Everywhere, the grasslands were teeming with life. The Holy Emperor dynasty still exists. Even though the evil Emperor dynasty wasn't the evil emperor under Bai Xiaochun's scheming, he was once again in a position to establish a new kingdom, maintaining the original triumvirate of the entire eternal immortal realm. However, the conflict and war have disappeared. Furthermore, after the threat and invisible erosion from the inverse mortal realm ceased, the Eternal Mother began to recover, and the half-step lord of the Holy Emperor realm seemed to find new hope amidst her restoration. As for Sunqiu, he was alone, riding his treasured fan, heading to the ruined immortal realm. There, he had to wait for the immortal realm to be reborn, for life to be born, for destiny to reappear, before he could leave this place and embark on the unfinished path of becoming a lord. Daibao became the new emperor. Although old, the Grand Celestial Master was eager for power and, along with the giant demon king, assisted Daibao. Li Qingou, having distanced himself from worldly affairs, lived with the Lingxi ancestor in a secluded place amidst lush greenery and clear waters. Though he had distanced himself from the imperial court, no one in the eternal immortal realm dared to utter a single word of defiance before him. Even the Eternal Mother intentionally kept him there, bestowing blessings upon him, keeping Li Qinghu's vitality vibrant. Zhang Daipen, Shen Xuanzi, and Su Baokai all ascended to the heavenly venerate realm during the Eternal Mother's recovery. They were very content in the eternal immortal realm. Zhang Daipen, in particular, found a partner. Su Baokai found more than one. As for Tai Dan, there's no need to say more. It had once again regained its former glory in the Lingxi sect. Behind him were countless female beasts. Bai Xiaochun's daughters also had their own destinies, each marrying a small, somewhat shy but serious cultivator, living happily together. What gave Bai Xiaochun a headache was Zibao. Growing up, he completely inherited all of Bai Xiaochun's personality, just like little Bai Xiaochun wreaking havoc in this eternal immortal realm. The little black turtle seemed to be even more in tune with him, simply ignoring Bai Xiaochun and following Zibao every day. It must be that little black turtle spoiling my son. Bai Xiaochun sighed. What troubled him even more was that Zibao also naturally liked alchemy and had achieved success in it. It seemed he was even more talented than Bai Xiaochun. Like the aphrodisiac pill, the illusion pill, etc., he had carefully considered them early on, even modifying the old ones into new ones, developing countless elixirs. which made Bai Xiaochun chuckle wryly. As for Bai Hao, he was currently in the Kuwang dynasty, quietly accompanying his master and pursuing his own path to becoming a supreme ruler. On the other hand, he frequently protected Bai Xiaobao. After the little black turtle and those two idiots, Xiaobao and Bai Hao got into trouble. Bai Hao secretly went to put out the fire. Now everything was peaceful. He didn't have much interest in researching fire refining, but Bai Xiaochun was overly concerned about Bai Hao's marriage. Bai Hao reluctantly always refused, citing the need to protect Xiaobao. After a few times, Bai Xiaochun seriously and carefully entrusted this matter to Bai Xiaobao, who had a talent for alchemy that surpassed his teacher. Little Black Turtle, of course, was also called aside to listen in. So these two idiots' eyes lit up, as if life had a new purpose. In this calm and peaceful atmosphere, with Song Jianwan, Ho Xiaomei, Zhou Zimai, and Gong Sunwaner as companions, Bai Xiaochun's heart was filled with warmth and tranquility. The entire cultivation world seemed to be exactly as he had imagined, with no more fighting and killing. But in his heart, there was still a sense of regret. That day, Bai Xiaochun stood on a mountain behind Kuwang City. This was his private residence. As the setting sun fell upon him, Bai Xiaochun slowly turned his head, looking towards a distant direction. "I should go in there," Bai Xiaochun murmured softly. He took a step into the distance, disappearing from the mountain. When he reappeared, he was on a continent bordering the current evil emperor dynasty, approaching a town where an ancient temple stood. This ancient temple wasn't large, with 2 maple trees in front. Although the reddish leaves had fallen, looking at it again, it seemed infinitely beautiful, making one irresistibly captivated. Especially now, as the setting sun slowly descended, the entire sky seemed filled with the red hues of autumn. The twilight fell on the temple's tiled roof, as if covering it with a layer of robes. The scene was very peaceful. Bai Xiaochun stood before the temple, his eyes closed. He listened to the chanting coming from inside. It was the voice of a woman, very gentle, filled with reverence and unwavering devotion. It seemed to be recounting past events. The twilight fell on her, as if merging her with the red sunset all around. At this moment, time seemed eternal. The autumn wind swept in, blowing through Bai Xiaochun's hair and scattering the fallen maple leaves, creating a rustling sound as if the leaves understood the scriptures. Unwilling to let the woman inside the temple recite alone, they seemed to be carried away by the wind, creating a different atmosphere. After a long while, Bai Xiaochun opened his eyes, his gaze filled with memories and a soft sigh. He slowly walked towards the ancient temple, pushing open the heavy, weathered door. Inside, in the gentle light of a green lamp, stood a statue of the Eternal Mother. And before this statue of the Eternal Mother, a woman sat with her back to him, reciting scriptures. The woman wore simple clothing, her long black hair flowing down. At this moment, her head bowed, as if her entire being had merged with the temple itself. Bai Xiaochun silently watched, silently listened. Everything before my eyes, along with the chanting in my ears, painted a picture of a green lamp, an ancient temple, a lifelong companion. For a long time, the woman knelt before the statue of the Eternal Mother, seemingly having made a discovery. She didn't turn around, but her body trembled slightly. Tears streamed down her cheeks, falling to the ground, and under the green lamplight, a flower bloomed. A flower of memories. At this moment, the image became eternal, gradually fading until it vanished. Bai Xiaochun slowly closed his eyes. When he opened them, he was still inside the long river of time, standing at the bow of the boat, silently looking at the eternal flower on the right, gradually withdrawing his gaze. The old man rowing the boat behind him took out another gourd of wine, drained it in one gulp, then looked at Bai Xiaochun. "This flower is also very suitable for you. Although it's not the starting point, it's the ending point." Bai Xiaochun said nothing. No one knew his thoughts. He looked at the flower on the left, then at the flower on the right, remained silent for a long time, and then closed his eyes again. "If not, you can choose that one to take away. I feel very good about it. Besides, both of these flowers are actually very good. It's just that choosing between them is truly confusing." The old man sighed. If it were him, he wouldn't know how to choose either. One is a fixed outcome, although it seems to suit your wishes. It seals off the result, leaving you able to see the end point at a glance. The other is infinite possibility, full of unknowns. You can use your own methods to create perfection, making all regrets disappear, making everything that follows full of light. How should I choose? Why don't you take a sip of wine and think about it? The old man shook his head, raising the wine bottle in his hand. No need. Bai Xiaochun's eyes opened, looking at all the eternal flowers before him, especially the two he had gazed at intently for a moment. He smiled, raised his hand, and grabbed one. The end.